and we're also going to be talking about the state of PvP. Tonight we have a handful of new guests because we want to get different perspectives on the state of PvP from people who don't just play in groups, in small groups or solo. We also want to get perspective from medium range
You're
groups to larger
muted.
groups.
You're muted, Cypher.
Am I muted?
Yeah, chat is
They're trolling me
saying
though.
you're
They're
muted.
they're just trolling.
Oh,
I'm not actually muted. So so today we're bringing with us AoE Barbecue, former No Mercy, currently with Vehemence, Mannequin with Alacrity and Rage, Jules with Haxus, and Snoo with Vehemence and Guild of Shadows. So thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We have a lot to talk about today, and as you can see, we have the TeamSpeak box up here. That way you guys can see who is talking at any given time, because the guests aren't actually on camera, so you won't know who's talking. So I put that there for you guys for your convenience. So thank you guys so much for your constant support. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We do have a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start up with covering the new changes that are coming in that were announced on the We Are ESO live podcast yesterday. So I almost skipped the introductions, but I'll go ahead and start with the introductions. My name is Cypher. I've been playing this game since beta, and this is my Twitch channel. I also do YouTube, and I'm a full-time streamer. Richard?
I'm Richard. I've been playing this game since beta also. I do YouTube, and you can catch me at twitch.tv/CamRichard15.
Fangrush?
I'm Fangrush. I play Stamsork. I also have a YouTube as well.
Lucy?
so guys, I'm Lefty. Have YouTube, Twitch as well. Been playing since beta. What's up?
All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and let our guests just give a brief introduction to themselves, starting off with Barbecue.
Alrighty, my name is AoE Barbecue. I played with No Mercy in our glory days, and I currently now play with Vehemence. I play primarily DK. Used to be Magic at DK, hence the name AoE Barbecue. I'm now primarily Stam DK. And I also have recently started playing a Magic at Nightblade.
Nice. Jules?
Hey, I'm Jules. I play with Haxus, and generally been playing a Magicka Sorc, Magicka Templar, and a little bit into Stam DK.
Mannequin?
My name's Mannequin. I've been playing since beta too, like most of these people. Started playing with Alacrity, and just recently joined up with Rage. Only been playing Templar. Always been just the group healer.
Snoo?
Hey, I'm Snoo. I've been playing since beta as well. Currently with Vehemence and Guild of Shadows. I've played on all three factions.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for our guests to show up on the stream. You guys have always asked for different perspectives, so we are giving you that. There is a lot to talk about, and there's a lot of great news that we heard yesterday regarding arenas, battlegrounds, dueling, changes to Cyrodiil, changes to PvP, itemization. There's so many things to talk about. I want to let you guys, the core group, what do you guys want to start with? Richard, Fangrush, Lefty. What topic do you want to discuss first? Upcoming topics that they announced yesterday.
Might as well start with the big ones. Go with arenas.
All right, arenas and battlegrounds. We'll start with that. So, as far as arenas and battlegrounds, they did say that they still haven't really started to work on them, but it is on the plan. And judging from how they were talking about it, people could expect it as early as Q3 of next year, so around the 8-9 month mark. Still a long way to go, but obviously if they're going to implement something like this, we want them to take their time so that they can make it right. Because if they launch a half-assed arena and battleground, no one's going to enjoy it. So what do you guys think? What are your hopes for these battlegrounds? What time frame are you hoping for? And just your overall opinion about them finally announcing? Because before this, they had no plans for arenas or battlegrounds. At least not that anything that they would share with us. What do you guys think?
Well, they said it was on their long-term plan, right? Like not the last ESO live, but maybe one or two before that. They said, yeah, it's on the long-term plan. So it's nice to hear. Okay, we're actually putting a date on this. Like we're putting a target on this. So that's good to hear.
Yeah, I don't even know if there's a target, right?
I don't
mean,
think there's
I
a
hope
target.
next year. That's all you can do. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be the naysayer, but last year they talked about what was it, spellcrafting. That guy got canned, so that's probably not coming for a long time. So you don't know. It's nice that they're talking about it. Like I'm glad they brought it up and that they acknowledge it, because what it means is that they're at least willing to work on it. That's what's really relevant there, is that they're willing to take what we want and say, we want to give that to you. Not a target. It won't be in the first half of next year, that's for sure. But if I hope they provide updates and they tell us what they're planning to do with it. I would assume it would be the next PvP related DLC content we would receive, and it is what's wanted, so that's positive in that respect.
Richard?
Yeah, I had mixed feelings about the announcement because I already knew. I told myself that it was not coming anytime soon. Like 6 months at a minimum is what I've been seeing. So the fact that they did announce it, it just like it's kind of like them. I don't know. I don't want to necessarily call it damage control, but it kind of is damage control because right now, every ESO live, the elephant in the room is arenas, PvP, small scale PvP, structured PvP, stuff of that sort. So it's kind of like they damage controlled it. And if you go and look back at the podcast, it was real vague. It's just like, yeah, arenas, battlegrounds, dueling, basically everything that we've been screaming about. It's in our long term plans. But like I said, nothing is in development at this point. And that's kind of the kicker, because right now, I mean, ESO really needs some type of changes to PvP. I was more so interested in hearing something about some changes coming like sooner, as far as AoE caps and whatnot.
As far as time frame goes, right? We have the upcoming changes to PvP. We have the forward camps. We have the itemization that's coming in. Here's the thing. It's really hard for us to piece together the time frame that they gave us, because they said a lot of things. They said, the Thieves Guild will enable us to implement dueling, but does that mean dueling is coming with the Thieves Guild, or is it just going to start the implementation process? The way I see it is Battlegrounds is at the end of this. Battlegrounds is at the very last thing, and I see dueling coming in a lot earlier than Battlegrounds. And when they say dueling, they just mean the ability to challenge your own alliance to a duel, outside of, cities and stuff. That got me a little excited, just because of the fact that as far as duels go, organized duels, we always had issues where, since it's a tri-faction game, you always had an imbalance between, the factions. Like there would be either too many EP or too many DC. There'd be a lot of ties for first place, because let's say like 4 DC finish in first, and you can't really do a tiebreaker with that. The ability to duel your own faction would allow, organized dueling to be able to do just straight up bracket tournaments, NCAA styled bracket tournaments that don't really have to have tiebreakers and stuff. That's something that's interesting, but when is that going to come? They really didn't want to give us any dates, like not even late next year, not even they did say as far as dueling goes that it was going to be enabled with the Thieves Guild, but is it Thieves Guild next patch, or is that Dark Brotherhood?
Yes.
Thieves Guild
Thieves
is
Guild.
next patch, but
Have they given us a date
vague.
on the next patch? They just said Q1.
Q1.
Q1, yeah.
Okay, so that's like January, February.
I would say it
March
has to be
through
March.
after
Math's hard.
January, because we haven't even gotten a PTS yet. They usually give us a PTS a month before they release an update. So I thought Thieves Guild was coming in January. Definitely not coming in January, but we'll see.
Okay.
I'm actually really surprised. So I spoke first about my thoughts on the arenas and stuff. I'm really surprised that there wasn't more hype in this
Yeah,
podcast. I didn't. Well, that's why I didn't really say very much. Is because I'm not very hyped about it, to be quite honest. Because, and I was looking at this earlier. When I was invited to the beta the first time. I wrote them a really long response. Like they asked, oh hey, what do you think about the game, stuff like that. And I wrote them this huge response, and I was like, you guys have something fantastic here. You guys are doing something really good with this combat system, but you're not doing it any justice with your PvP content. You got to put some form of structured, small scale. And so I saw the writing on the walls during the beta, and that this game, it's got something great, but it's never going to live for very long in a competitive market, and that's why you don't see it very high on Twitch. When you go to twitch.com, it's nowhere near the top of the listings. It's because it doesn't have the PvP that people are looking for, that arena-based, that small-scale, stuff like that. And I knew this stuff would come. I knew it would come because I knew enough people would love this game, and enough people would identify that issue with this game. And eventually the developers would see that they have to do this. So I wasn't very surprised. Honestly, when they made the announcement, I didn't even have a smile on my face. I was like, it's about fucking time. Oh, damn it. Sorry.
It's
about time. That is,
it's about time.
60 minutes in.
It's about time is the only thing I thought. Like I wasn't even excited. And then and the fact that it's 8 months out, like I don't know if all these other changes. Right. Well, they said at minimum Q3, right? So it's probably going to be like it might be 2017 before we see this stuff. So like this stuff, it takes a while to develop this stuff.
One major takeaway that a lot of people are overlooking from that ESO Live podcast is they specifically said we're still following the timeline that we showed you guys at QuakeCon 2014. And that timeline included Orsinium, Imperial City, Thieves Guild, all the other DLCs. They have a timeline that they're following, and they let it be known that they're following it. So I'm guessing after that timeline is finished, that's when we'll start seeing those PvP changes with arenas, dueling, battlegrounds, and things like that. But right now, I mean, it's clear what their focus is. Their focus is their timeline, which is why the next DLC is going to be Thieves Guild.
Well, the thing is, their timeline, Thieves Guild, that dueling is attached to that timeline just because of how they presented it. They said that Thieves Guild will allow dueling to be, achievable. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this real quickly. Let's talk best case, worst case scenario, 2016. And we'll start off with best case scenario as far as what I think would be a best case scenario. The changes that are coming in right now in the next patch, they come around January, February. We get improved Cyrodiil performance. We get AoE caps removed / addressed. We get the PvE gear implemented into the alliance points / gold system to where PvP players can gear up through PvP. So that will keep us entertained in a way. And then with the Thieves Guild, shortly after, we get dueling implemented. And then when dueling gets implemented, that keeps us entertained until the next patch. And 3-4 months down the line, this is like 3 months of us doing this, and then 3 months after dueling gets implemented, 2 months we get into the PTS of the arena / battleground. It looks good. At the end of next year, we start playing in arenas and battlegrounds. So the way I see it is, if they hit the targets that they talked about throughout 2016 in an orderly fashion, I mean, in a way that it's going to keep us entertained and we're not going to be bored with the same system, to where we can be entertained and we can get over the fact that we arenas won't be coming for 8-9 months down the line, and when they do come, we're not worn out or we haven't moved on to different games. Like okay, that's a lot for ZeniMax, but that I feel like that's still a possibility that they could implement a proper system. And so here's the thing, for me, the biggest thing that will make these next 8 months bearable is how they address the the balance with classes, because they still haven't given us any info as far as abilities and classes, what they're going to do and what they're going to change. But if they hit that target well, the PvP meta, I don't want to use the word meta, but the PvP gameplay will be good enough to where we'll still be able to play it until they implement dueling, and then we'll be able to play dueling until they implement battlegrounds. It's all about how this journey is. And here's the thing: the beauty about an MMO is it's always gonna be changing, right? Like you could leave right now and come back in a year and see a completely brand new game, and it might be great, and you can pick it back up. If you leave an MMO, It's not over for you. That's the thing. That's best case scenario for me.
That's where I'm at right now. My best case scenario. This is my best case scenario. They make the changes to make Cyrodiil an enjoyable environment for PvP. That to me is their best case scenario, because as I see it, like those PvP changes that they're announced, even Dueling, I don't see that stuff coming within 6 months. Like even Dueling,
I can see that coming in 3 months. To be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
you know what dueling what they're dueling at, what dueling is, right? It's just going to be the ability to challenge a player to a duel.
I agree 100% with what you're saying. I'm just looking back at the way that they announce things. Like even Brian Wheeler, he's like, yeah, you know, we're working on dueling and we're gonna have it so that you can duel everywhere, even in towns. Oh wait, maybe we don't want you guys to duel in towns. We'll figure it out. They don't have anything in development as far as that's concerned. Like it's literally they have to sit down and talk about it before they even put it into the development phase, because that's
they're in
where
brainstorm
they
right
at.
now.
They're
in brainstorm.
they're where we are. They're at the circle table and they're talking and saying, hey, if we put dueling in the game, how should we go about it? And then they have to get things approved. It's a lot of stuff behind that kind of stuff when you add that into a game. So I just totally do not see any of those changes coming based off of that last ESO Live. What I took from that last ESO Live was excitement that it was acknowledged and they know that it needs to come to make this game better. But that's not what I'm looking forward to. My best case scenario, and this was something that I was disappointed in, because I mean this was something that, you know, Eric Roble, he made a forum account, he posted on a forum about it, AoE caps, and nothing was said about like AoE caps or anything. And that's one of the major issues. Like the major issue is the way that Cyrodiil performs right now. I mean, all we got from Brian Wheeler was, you know, a bunch of squares and, you know, hoopity high. Like I honestly I don't know what that was, but he was just trying to explain why the servers are going downhill. And he was like, yeah, you know, we got to take stuff out one by one and we'll get there. You just got to wait. And that's what we've been doing for 2 years. We've been waiting for them to fix the server lag, and it's still not fixed. So my best case scenario is them getting the servers together, making Cyrodiil a bearable place to PvP in, getting IC together, making that useful again, because right now IC is 100% useless. And we need PvP in the game. Right now, it's really hard to PvP. I'm looking forward to those changes, but I just don't see them coming within 6 months. That's my takeaway from it.
Fingers, before I let you talk, Ver donated $3 and he said that he beat you in a 1v1, so you don't deserve anything.
Get wrecked.
That's a lie. Yeah, before I go on to any more of that, I'm kind of interested to hear what some of the guests think, because
What guess?
what are your
For sure.
yeah?
All of them.
Are you guys still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
What are your guys' takes on Arena and Battlegrounds? How do you feel about them? And not just that,
I
but
really
also,
want the arenas.
If I may.
like,
I-
what's your takeaway? What's your feeling with
Well-
you know, hearing it on the podcast the same way we hear it?
The process of making content always takes a long time. It's like we play content and we get so used to it, it becomes so mundane to us. We just assume that, okay, we're going to produce a brand new instance to PvP by like next month. It doesn't work that way. It takes a long time. However, I am very optimistic about the prospect of battlegrounds, instance to PvP and 1v1s, because that makes PvP accessible to many more people in the game. It's difficult for some people to just enter Cyrodiil and jump into the stack, jump into the ball, and, you know, get lagged to heck, and, you know, it becomes tiresome. Whereas instance PvP, like I'm thinking of something like Serpent's Passage for Warhammer Online, you know, very popular, it lingers in people's memory, lots of fun, makes it accessible to people. So I'm very optimistic about this, and I hope that they work on it expediently.
I'm also really optimistic about arenas. I think that it's long overdue, like everybody else said, but I just think that it's really great that they're listening, or at least it can be interpreted as they're listening. People have been wanting this for a very long time, so it's just a matter of they're finally delivering, or they're finally at least saying that they're going to. As far as like best case scenario, obviously people want them as soon as possible, but I don't know like necessarily how realistic that is. But the thing that I want for arenas definitely is like multiple different tiers. So like you can do maybe not 1v1s because I guess that's just dueling, but 2v2s, 4v4s, 8v8s, 12v12s. I'd like to see like a range of different like group sizes that you could take on and do like some kind of incentive, some kind of like anything that you can get from arenas, whether it be Undaunted or something that's like worthwhile that people want to give it some sort of like motivation.
Can you guys still hear my stripper music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah, I mean, there was in the 1.6 BTS, I had set up some group versus group PvP and actually recorded some of it. It was like some of the funnest things I've done in PvP.
Oh yeah.
So that's something that I definitely want in the game. I mean, it's gonna take a while, but I'm willing to wait unless something just ridiculous happens.
I just hope that they still have like some sort of incentive for small groups to stay in Cyrodiil as well, because I'd hate to see like all the skilled players that are small group players to just completely abandon Cyrodiil and just have it be a lag fest. Like I'd like to see the lag fixed and AoE cap removal and stuff like that, so that there's still an incentive for people to play in Cyrodiil. So it's kind of like, what do we feel like doing? Do we feel like doing arenas, or we
I
feel
think
like
the
doing
lag is the main issue there. Like
Most certainly.
everyone I talk to pretty much just loves open world PvP. Like
Yeah, for sure.
so I think they're still gonna play it even with arenas. They'll still just go in open world PvP, go and fight some people. Like sometimes you want to fight outnumbered, you want the challenge.
Right, of course.
I'm not sure if many people here played Warhammer Online, but that also had an open world PvP system, and it didn't, and the instances didn't detract from that at all.
Well, that's good. I mean,
Same
I just
thing
worry
with
that the
Terra.
PvP like community is just a lot smaller than it used to be. So I'd hate to see like a lack of like actual open world PvP in Cyrodiil due to like only instanced PvP. I'd like to see like both of them be like healthy and flourishing.
That's going to work itself out because either they're going to, by the time those do get implemented, if they haven't made serious headway, a lot of those skilled players you're referring to are likely not to be around. Not to be terribly negative, but it's true because it's going to be a little while till that comes. And as we've said before on some of the other podcasts, there's some other stuff coming around the corner. I'm not just talking about a handful of streamers. I'm talking about a lot of people in game that I know that play that are excited to hear the news. So here's the general consensus. Every one of us, doesn't matter what our environment is, all of us as PvPers are happy to hear this. This is good news.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. And we all know it's not coming anytime in the immediate future. And that's fine. So I know we'll get to it later. But, we're all looking for something still short term. And I also understand, we're going to talk about more of their issues that they talked about on this podcast. Because Wheeler went in there, and honestly, like, I was happy to see Wheeler come on ESO Live and deliver a lot more than we get from most people that are coming on ESO Live. They're coming on there fielding these softball BS questions for 30 minutes and putting on an archive. It's like, you're not telling us anything about the game for a month. So it's nice to have someone come on and talk about, here's what's coming, here's what, actually addressing things the community was interested in. That was really reassuring to see. So I'm happy he came on. He fielded a lot of questions. He laid out a roadmap. That's great. More stuff like that. That's good. And as they nail down when and how it's coming, that's great. But yeah, I'll pass it back over.
Personally, like, I don't know. I don't want to come off as a fanboy or anything, but I feel like what Wheeler said, like all the things that he said, applied to a lot of the issues I had with this game. And some of those issues are immediate fixes that are coming in the next patch. Now, whether they, like, it all depends on how they execute it. If they execute it properly, and, we'll see the PTS and all that stuff really soon. But if they execute it properly, honestly, like, I'm happy with these changes. Like, I'm actually really excited about the direction that they're gonna turn in 2016. I mean, of course, I would have rather heard this news a year ago and have the arenas now. I mean, it took them a while, but really, like, we had to rally up as a community to get their attention, and we really did. I mean, like, everyone wanted arenas since the start of the game, but no one really, like, pulled the community together to get Sauce's attention. And we've done that recently, and we've gotten some semi-immediate response to it, because I don't know. This is episode 5. We haven't really had a community poll since episode 1, and we did that. We buzzed up the forums. We got a lot of attention. We got their attention, and they addressed it. Like whether they're addressing it because they just have to. The fact is they addressed it. Now they have to work on it. They are, they gave us somewhat of a vague timeline, but to be honest with you, like, this is exactly what I wanted. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. This game, like, whether I leave now and come back in a year, if I come back in a year and there's Dueling and Battleground, you can play this game for years to come with Battlegrounds. It's just going to be another, attachment to Cyrodiil. It's not going to take away from it. It's going to be another attachment that people have the option to do. And the Dueling is going to have we're going to have so much better tournaments and organized duels, just because that simple fix of the ability to duel your own alliance is going to allow us to organize duels better. You're going to have people dueling in the PvE zones. You're going to have more people getting into PvP, because a lot of the times people who aren't into PvP get into PvP by dueling their friends and getting better and stuff like that. So all these changes, particularly the one with the purchasable Undaunted pieces, I don't like PvE at all. Like
It's amazing.
I cannot do PvE. Like it's completely boring to me. It's not their fault. It's me. It's just me at that point. Like, I just don't like PvE. And the fact that they are putting in Undaunted set pieces for a high costing amount of AP and gold. Keep in mind, they're gonna have these pieces cost a lot, but they're also doubling the AP reward per kill. They're changing the way AP is rewarded, so these pieces are going to be even easier to access, considering the fact that everyone's going to be worth twice the AP come next patch or whenever this is implemented. So all these things that I've had issues with. Now, the only things that's left, which is things that they haven't covered, is AoE caps and class balance. And if they manage to do a decent job with that, at least get us out of what we have right now, just a little bit better than what we have right now, I'll be really happy. And I can see myself playing throughout 2016 until these battlegrounds come. And then once battlegrounds come, we're soaring at that point. I personally it is, my bad. I'm talking a lot, but it is vague. It seems a little rushed. It seems like, in a way, not that they were forced, but they had to do it. But this is better than where we were a week ago.
It's definitely a roadmap. I think this was their. I'll just say real quick. Again, I just want to reiterate. It's a roadmap. I think this was their last one for the year, if I'm not mistaken. They said at the end.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not. You do get a lot of teasers sometimes. So I'm not trying to diminish what they did. Again, I really, really liked what Wheeler did coming on there. Like, I'm completely honest with that. Like, I hope to see more communication like that. And what you just said there, though, Cypher, those other two things, like AoE caps, the other stuff, like the short-term stuff, is not even on his plate. And if we can get communication on that in the same respect that we got it from Wheeler, that would be great. He laid out his roadmap. What's the roadmap elsewhere, Well,
are we going to get that? Or there's not going to be another episode, right?
But I mean, not this year, but it's going to be another episode before the Thieves Guild
when the PTS comes, right? They usually talk about it before they release the PTS anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, the PTS isn't coming like early January. Like, it's going to be holiday season. People are going to work slow until New Year, and they'll do ESO live in January. I'm going to be working slow, bro.
You're right. It's just, I
mean, polar bears are coming, so.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
polar bears.
Yeah, like for me, like, and I agree 100%, Cypher. Like, those changes that they said, like that. I cheesed so hard when I heard them, because that's a lot of the issues that I deal with the game. Right? Like Brian Wheeler, he addressed a lot of it, and like I'm thankful for that. My thing though is the main thing that needs to be addressed though is Cyrodiil PvP, and that was just something that really didn't get addressed. I'm hoping it gets addressed in the future, but as long as Cyrodiil, unless Cyrodiil gets changed, and it's more enjoyable, I can't see myself playing ESO for too much longer until those changes hit. But I'm trying to be optimistic about it, and I'm hoping that we get some info on that in the really near future. Maybe they'll bring Rob on or Rich Lambert. They'll bring somebody on to talk about some more changes with Cyrodiil PvP. Because to me, that's where the game falls short at. Is it's just Cyrodiil PvP right now, and I think a lot of people can agree. The small scale Zergers, everybody, and it's mainly the performance. It's one of the major issues is performance.
So real quick, the whole atmosphere so far in the podcast, it kind of seems like we're disappointed, and we've all been trying to put our own spin on this whole thing. Like we've all said that these are really good. This is really good. We're all happy for this. So I want to apologize on behalf of everyone. You guys are probably thinking, wow, these guys, this is like everything that they wanted. And even some people have commented on it in chat. This is everything that you guys have been asking for, and you sound like nothing happened. We are all excited. We are all excited. It's just you might be seeing a little bit of being burned out. And you might be hearing you might be hearing us this in our voices is us being burned out and us wanting a short-term solution. Don't misinterpret that as not being excited for arenas, not being excited for those things that are coming in Q3 2016, because those things are fantastic. We've all wanted that for a really long time. So I'm sorry on behalf of everyone that we sound sad. We are.
I don't
hyped.
sound sad.
I guarantee
I'm not sad.
It's a two-part podcast.
I sound sad. I know I do. So I'm sorry.
Don't be
like
sad.
This is awesome. I can't wait for this. Like that's the perfect sentence. I can't wait for this. Like
we are not giving up on ESO. It's just more so that we've been playing this game for so long, and I for one, I streamed yesterday. I had one of the best streams I've had in a long time yesterday.
Me too.
Because I was
crazy.
so excited about these changes. However, these changes, I mean, they don't hit today or tomorrow. I still gotta go into Cyrodiil and lag every time I stream and play the game. So that's still things that I have to deal with. That takes away from enjoyment when I'm playing the game. But when these changes do hit, you best believe this is the game I'm going to be playing for years to come. If these changes come half as good as what they're saying, like if we get half of an arena, half of dueling, half of battlegrounds, I mean, I just need 25% of it, and I'm happy.
Well, let's not go too low, man.
No, I'm serious.
Don't keep backing off.
At the very least, it's like a light at the end of the tunnel. It's something to look forward to, whereas before it was just kind of like aimless. You're just kind of like not really sure whether this is going to happen, whether this is going to be the game that you want to play, or and at least you have something to look forward to. We're not sure exactly what the time frame is going to be, but at least it's been confirmed that this is happening. So
I want to step in. The chat is demanding that Snoo speaks. The chat.
Snoo.
Say things about things.
Things about stuff. I mean, I love this game. I love what PvP can be in this game. I guess has the potential to be. It's so unique, and I mean, I've stuck with it for such a long time. So yeah, I'm excited about the new changes. Like, I want to see what happens, of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's excited too.
Yeah. I've talked to people that have quit the
Yes,
game.
new.
People that have quit the game
God,
are interested in all these changes. So
Yeah,
that's
I
what I'm
think
excited about.
we're opening on what we heard in the podcast, which is great. Again, it's a roadmap, it's a lot of future stuff. I know we're not there yet. There's still some more stuff to talk about, like the second half. It's probably more about stuff that we're kind of down about that we'll get to, but hopefully in a constructive way too. So I think everyone's happy to hear about a lot of stuff again. I think Wheeler did a good job, and I hope to see more of that from all of ZeniMax, because that kind of stuff is good to hear for everybody. Everyone loved hearing that stuff. People were very happy to see that.
We went from literally 2 or 3 weeks ago to we don't have any plans for arenas. We don't have any plans for battlegrounds. We're not talking about that. To battlegrounds, arenas, dueling, everything coming, long-term plans, like in less than a couple weeks. In less than a month, we got that info. That's amazing.
So we still have some time to talk about this topic. I just want to I want to get your opinions on this new vendor that's going to be coming to sell Undaunted gear in general. What do you guys want to see this vendor sell? How often do you want, and
I
what
just want
prices?
monster sets.
What sets, what items, what prices do you want to see?
I want them to honestly, I want them to talk to people. Like, I want them, when they put a light helmet in, I want them to not put a light, well-fitted helmet in.
Honestly, I don't want a randomized bag.
Yeah, no randomized bag.
Yeah.
I'm not dropping $1 million AP for a randomized bag.
Yeah, and take well-fitted out on light armor, because nobody wants a light armor, well-fitted helmet. Like, I don't.
Does anyone want well-fitted on anything?
No.
Fuck no.
No.
Like I think that's a hard no.
Potty
Oh,
mouth.
number 2.
Number 2.
Damn it. Sorry.
Jules.
Yeah.
Why?
What?
That was
Wasn't
me.
Jules.
I
I
did
just,
it.
I would just went.
That was Snoo?
Yeah, I failed you. I'm
Wow.
It's all right. It's all right. Join the
Oh
club,
my
Snoop.
I
god.
would just went
unreal.
monster sets, like give him a mil HP, the one or
I-
AP, the one I went.
I
mean,
want
I've
to
been
see.
playing
I want to
since
see.
it came out, and I haven't gotten a monster set because I just don't PvE.
I think it's a fantastic change, but I wish they would sell some item to give me all that time I wasted back for all those countless hours I spent grinding.
I'm with you on that one. I just did like 30
Yeah,
Nary in
the no
Thorns.
retroactive.
No,
I'm still not Undaunted max.
I want
really
to
wanna
see
see-
V16 master weapons.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Maelstrom.
yes.
Get
Let me
that
get
shit
that.
in there.
I don't know about
There we go.
Maelstrom. I don't think Maelstrom
Whatever.
should be
Get out of here.
involved
I
in
want
there.
Maelstrom in there.
I mean,
could say,
no,
I
no,
don't
no.
third
here's
tier
the
him
thing. I want
anyway.
Maelstrom in there. I want Maelstrom in there because I mean I don't like PVE, but at the same time, it's a DLC. They're not gonna put a DLC.
That's true. That's a good point.
That's a good point.
What I want to see is well, you kind of just covered it with its DLC, but like the IC sets and also like Briarheart, like things that you have to get like within PvE, like the new trials that are coming up. I don't know what kind of gear they're gonna have. Hopefully, it's less shitty than it is now. But if
That's
that's,
number 3.
in there,
3 down,
what?
boys.
Oh, swears. Is that what we're counting? Okay,
Yes.
Yeah.
gotcha. But yeah, gear that people want.
It's
just,
it's gonna cause a riot.
What prices?
think.
What it is
has
gonna
to
cost
be
a riot, but you know
expensive,
what?
it will cause
Like
a riot.
the PVE players will be mad, and
It doesn't matter how expensive it is. PvE players are gonna riot. They're gonna say, "Hey, where's my Ravager
Well-
set? How do I get that? Oh, you
Is-
gotta go PvP."
give them that.
I'm-
I honestly would like give the PVE
We
players
can
that.
sell them the Ravager.
But that's the thing. Are these sets going to be buying on pickup or buying on equip?
No, they're gonna be buying on like as soon as
They
you
haven't
purchase
said.
it because it's
No,
Undaunted.
No, they said that
haven't
they-
said it though.
But it's
said that they
Undaunted,
haven't
dude. It's
decided.
Undaunted. I don't think.
We have
No,
no,
but
idea.
he-
We have no
he-
idea. Really.
They're not
Yeah.
gonna let people sell Undaunted.
Well, if they're changing a major mechanic of how you obtain Undaunted, they might consider changing. Like,
Well,
I mean,
master
they have to
weapons
consider
rolls.
it,
I mean,
right?
master weapons
I
were
think this
rewarded
is-
at the end of the campaign, but you still couldn't trade them. Even
I'm
though
pretty sure it's gonna be tied to the character
yeah,
because
this-
it's gonna
this is
cost
just like a
high
secondary
AP
way to get
and
it.
Yeah.
So as far as AP and gold, how much do you think it should cost? 1 million AP?
1 million. AP.
1 million.
For a V16 Undaunted, it has to be at least like 1 million.
I'm thinking
If
1
it's
million's a
gonna
good
be
price.
that, then it needs to be a trait that I can choose. Like I want
That-
a list of like infused,
I think
defines,
that's
whatever,
cheap.
whatever.
They
Wait,
could.
what?
No, you know what I think.
I think that's
million
really
AP?
Fangrush,
cheap.
Fangrush, we don't have
I'd
13
say-
million
Oh,
sitting
oh,
down
oh.
in the bank right now.
Yeah, but you're talking like just buying your way up.
No, no.
with
Oh,
it.
but here's the thing, though.
Fingers
Here's the thing, though.
pretty nuts.
Fangrush. That's not the way they described it. Is that seller's gonna come and he's gonna sell a specific piece. So I'm thinking the way they're gonna do it is that seller's gonna sell a specific piece with a specific trait on that day, and that's it. And you have to wait until he sells the piece that you want. It's not like you're gonna trade that guy and he's gonna have a list of all the Undaunted helmets and shoulders and all the gear sets. He's gonna have just specific gear options for that week, and you have to wait. You might have to wait 8 weeks before you get the piece that you want. So there's still gonna be time frame involved.
See, I would much rather see like, okay, so this day we're doing blood spawn and we have like the helms and shoulders, and sure they can be like exorbitant prices, but you can choose what you want. And like this might not come around again for a month, but at least you can choose what you want in the like light, medium, heavy, or whatever. Because if it's gonna be 1 million AP, I mean, you're talking, that's a lot of like already
Not
grinding.
a lot of people have 1 million.
Right.
They could put-
a lot of grinding, and then to add to that, also like just 8 weeks at a time, you can only get it one. It's like you might as well just go like PVE and just get it easier
Not
that
really
way.
though, because literally I've spent like 15, 20 million AP already on bags, just bags alone. So people who PvP a lot, they have AP sitting around, and that's I think that's what it's for. It's for the people who don't want to go in and grind PvE to get the helmet. Now the PvPers have a chance. I think.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
also
all
going to be
about
available
not
for
PvE.
gold too. So
Yeah, that's
Gold
what
is
it's all
all-
about. It's about going around PvE to get something that PvPers need also. I'm all for it. Bring it.
I mean, like, here's the thing:
Same.
if they had Undaunted, if they had special like 2-piece sets only available through AP and PvP, and they were competitive with the Undaunted sets, I wouldn't be complaining. But we don't have that, so obviously we either have to have the PvE sets or sets that are competitive?
Well, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants the same stacked, like,
Oh,
stats.
I mean, yeah.
So,
So
I mean,
I
why
still
would
think
we?
I still think their whole PvE system of RNG just sucks, and they
It
should have fixed that a
does.
while ago.
There should be tokens or something so that you can.
Exactly.
There could be tokens. There could just be increasing RNG per run. Like there's different ways they could have done it, and it's especially when you're considering like do you want medium, heavy, or light, and what trait? I mean, it gets absurd. So you
Yeah, I've
know,
literally gotten one Kenna drop, and it was a well-fitted shoulder. And this is like after a couple months of just like doing dailies every day.
yeah, I
Yeah.
can't get I can't get it in two-piece medium. Like I'm in the same boat. I just stopped doing it. I never ever ran Valkyrie Scoria. I did it like well over like 60 times, literally. And I just said, the hell with it. Like there was a cool build I had. I just never ran it because I couldn't get it. And despite that, like I would rather just have them made a better system. But I guess they're beyond that. I don't really care. It's a cool change because I know so many people that are like in your guys' boats. Like I don't mind going and doing the PvE sometimes. I'm not a huge fan of it, although Maelstrom was cool despite how challenging it was. It was good content. I feel like it's some of the only like good PvE content they put in the game because it was challenging, and it still is challenging even if you go do it now and you've done it many times. I hope they do more PvE content like that. But
I mean, some people enjoy both, so.
yeah, it's
I don't mind
It's gonna
doing
make a lot of
PvE.
people happy though.
I don't mind doing PvE when there's a reward. But when I'm doing PvE for 4 hours out of a day and I don't get anything for it, that's my issue. I'd rather
Yeah.
have spent that time PvPing and just enjoying myself. Even though I'm not getting anything for PvPing either, at least I'm enjoying myself. I gotta put myself through hell to go through these dungeons sometimes, man.
To me though, it's honest. The most telling thing of it though is that's my biggest takeaway from it is not that they're doing it. For me, it's that it's very telling that they're really giving something to the PvP players here. Before, I just felt like they'd be like, yeah, well, piss off. It's a PvE game. It almost feels like that way in a lot of things. And when you hear like the roadmap for all these PvP changes, like, oh yeah, that PvE gear, now you PvP only players can get it. I feel like they're connecting a bit more with us, honestly, through stuff like that and some of the other things. That was the general feel from that podcast, honestly, which should be something positive for all of us, I think, as a takeaway. That hey, maybe they care a little more than we felt like, the past forever,
We got a $5 donation from Arrow. He says this is for Snow.
Dude.
Get it, girl?
There you go.
Oh yeah, going in and out.
Any other topics you guys want to talk about regarding what they're changing? Forward camps? Or
Forward
how do you feel about
camps.
forward
I
camps?
forward
got
camps.
something on forward camps.
Mannequin, I'll let you start off with your opinions about the forward camps.
Alright, so, I mean, he still wants to keep the limit of 10 forward camps per faction, yet he's reducing the size of the radius to a keep size. What's stopping one person just going out into the wilderness out there between Nickel and Brindle, setting up 10 forward camps? Now the whole faction can't use a forward camp.
Yeah, troll camps.
And you can't use them up. The enemy's not going to go over there and burn them. And you can't use them up because you can't respawn unless you're inside the radius.
That's
So
true.
that's one gigantic
They
flaw
are gonna
right there that I
cost-
saw right away.
They are going to cost 20k as opposed to 7k, but that's still not going to stop people. Like, people have a surplus of AP, so
Yeah, people will do that. They'll just
Yeah,
put them
people
on
will
their alts
literally.
and go over there and just troll camp you.
I didn't even think
People
about
from your
that.
faction will do it.
The increased price will make troll camping more and more cost prohibitive, though. So that is a good change.
And
That's a
I see
good
someone
point
in
somebody
chat
said.
say
I would like to
camps
see-
die
Overtime.
over time,
I'd like to
but
see
you can
group
repair
camps.
them. They're siege. You
I'd
can
like to
repair
see
them.
group camps.
Yeah, that'd be nice. If there's one thing I can say about the proposed changes, why is the arbitrary number of reses 20 when the maximum group size is 24? That doesn't seem to make much sense to me.
I mean, the odds of
Did they
the
say
odds,
20?
Yeah,
even
20.
if they upped it to 24, the odds of your 24 using that camp before someone else I guess.
Well, you can
Well,
also revive and then have somebody repair it after say 10 people goes through and then it
yeah, that's
resets
true.
that the counter. So that's
Does
not really
Okay.
that's like a hey, learn to play, repair your camp, man.
I mean, the thing is, like, someone else will probably use your camp before one of your group members
Yeah.
uses it. So just the
Yeah.
repair cost isn't too high, right? You can pretty much repair a camp to full for like
Yeah,
a
without using
minimal,
too many. Yeah.
minimal cost. Well,
Yeah, I
with the
think
increased
it's
cost
really positive.
of the camps, it's going to be really important that people actually repair the camps because 20K to put one down and to repair one to full is going to cost a fraction of that.
Yep.
I personally, my biggest thing about forward camps is, as someone who really likes to play DK, especially like used to like Magic at DK, forward camps helped because when you get Zerg down, you really don't have that much mobility as a solo Magic DK. So forward camps kind of helped the burn when you got Zerg down or when you got ambushed by a large group, to where the run back isn't that long. You can get back into the action. So it's gonna allow players who don't have that much mobility to still have fun without having to run back every single time they get outnumbered like that.
Yeah. Another thing about camps, I'm sure most people here remember the time of constant camp spam. Is back then there was absolutely no sense of the permanency of death. It's like you would just reset a camp over and over and over, and fights would go on for forever until they were either troll camped or you just got a really good wipe on them. So, I mean, a lot of people were in favor of the camps disappearing because when you won, you won. I mean, we already have issues with really large groups just constantly getting up, the zombie horde tactic with everyone running Kagranax. So there is also that periphery issue, I guess, of fights now like never ending.
Well, keep in mind they didn't give all the details, but they said there's going to be a cooldown on like an area when a camp is placed. So let's say there's a camp placed down, the camp either gets destroyed or used up. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Brian said there's going to be a 5-minute cooldown onto when you can place the camp or when you can res at that camp again. I forgot. I think there was 2 cooldowns.
It was resing, I think.
Was
If
it
that's
resing?
if that's the case, it's perfect. Yeah, I have no
Yeah.
complaints.
5 minutes is a
think-
long time. 5 minutes, yeah. You can take care. Like back then, there's no limit. So I mean I've seen like 70K defense ticks because of things like that, and just constant battles, just never-ending battles. But
Yeah.
if there is a cooldown on when you can res, and you wipe a group, they all spawn. You wipe them again. That's it. They're done. They can't use that camp anymore. They have to run back. So
That should almost not even be a camp thing. That should just be a game mechanic.
I mean, I'm really in favor of the camps coming back. I think that it just
2
makes
minutes.
for
People are saying 2-minute cooldown. It's still
Yeah.
a decent amount of time.
That's still a good amount of time. 2 minutes is a long time in this game.
I think it makes for like more interesting fights when maybe you make some mistakes or you get Zerg down or whatever it is. You have another shot at it, which I think is great. Longer fights is good. The only thing that I'm like worried about with forward camps is just I really hope this lag is fixed before then, because I think that could be really really awful.
That's
if it's
that's
not.
that's sort of the overarching villain here is the lag.
I think that's why I've heard some people say they want it to be group only.
That wouldn't be bad.
If it's group only, I don't know. You kind of have to remove the
Right, but
restriction
then
on
that
raising and the
isolates-
radius.
That isolates solo players, that isolates like small group players who might
Yeah.
not have the ability to have a person just leave and put down a camp. You want maybe 2 different kinds of camps, but I don't think it's fair to just have a camp that only a 24-man can put down and only a 24-man can spawn at, because then what about all the people who are on the outskirts and
I'm
just
just-
doing like
It makes a
small
good
man
point.
stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
Keep
just
in
saying
mind-
that's what I've heard.
As far as lag is concerned, keep in mind that when forward camps are in the picture, you have the opportunity. Right now, the way I see it is when I go into Cyrodiil, let's say it's an even map. As a solo player, I see my options. I'm either gonna go hit Alessia or hit Ash. Let's say I'm DC. I'm either gonna hit Ash, go against AD, or not Ash and Chalman. Let's say Red has Chalman, AD has Ash. Those are my two options. I'm gonna go there. A lot of people are gonna either go to either keep. They're gonna go to the closest keep. With forward camps, now you have groups that are gonna go deeper into enemy territory just because of the fact that they have that forward camp to fall back on. They can go deep into territory. They can put down a forward camp. They can siege a keep, take it, and really that forward camp isn't going to be used by any randoms because it's so deep into the territory that they actually have to go there, die there, and then res at that forward camp. So forward camps will actually give people the option to fight on different parts of the map more efficiently, to the point where it's in a way going to spread people out just a little bit, because you're going to have options as a player. You if you see people putting down forward camps in certain parts of the map, you can go there knowing that you can res there. So for me, it spreads me out.
Totally agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no complaints there.
My only issue though now is, when they got rid of forward camps, we had a much larger population in Cyrodiil. Now there aren't really very many people there. But I do completely agree, like, we need to be spreading out a lot more, and I think that would help spread the fights out and reduce lag.
I mean, that's what we always used to do back in the day, like groups. I mean, there's still Zergs and stuff, but people spread out just because of forward camps.
Yep.
But I mean, if lag isn't fixed, if there's a huge fight going on at Glade Mist and it's just even 2 guilds, I mean, people are lagging all the way across the map. So even if people are spread out, if there's 2 huge fights on the map, it's still going to be an issue. It's still going to affect everybody. So those 2 things really need to work in tandem. Like, the lag really needs to be fixed in order for forward camps to be successful.
Yeah.
Lag seems to be the biggest culprit in ESO right now.
Yeah, that's the overarching issue with just about everything, is we understand it's just like, inherent that we are going to lag and it's going to turn into ESO.ppt every single time we get in a big JVG. So it really needs to be addressed.
I just want to thank some donators. Drastic donated $1. He says, "Can we have a We Are Snoo podcast next time, please?" And Exos donate $20 saying Undaunted merchant hype. I'm definitely hyped about the merchant as well. Okay, so do you guys? Okay, right now we're about at the halfway point for the podcast. Do you guys want to talk about the current state of PvP? Talk about AoE caps, that whole topic, or is there more things that were discussed and announced that you guys want to cover? New things that are coming out.
There's a couple more things, like the
Siege.
lack of CP in 2 different campaigns, the siege, and then also the being able to home the same server on all different factions.
Oh yeah. That's I actually forgot about that. Let's talk about the siege changes first. Siege is gonna be the damage on siege is gonna be increased around 30% to where it's gonna be the same numbers that we had in 1.6. How do you guys feel about the siege change? I personally don't use siege at all. I mean, I used ground oils back when they were useful, but how do you guys feel about the siege change in general?
Kind of the same way. I don't really use siege. Maybe the increased damage will make me want to use it more, but most likely not.
I remember they increased damage on the siege in 1.6 it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they increased the damage in 1.6, and people use it for like 2 days, and then siege.
I mean, higher siege. Actually, we're forgetting one thing. They're not just increasing the damage on siege. The siege
effects. Yeah.
The siege effects will also not be purgeable. So the health debuff, from meat bags will not be purgeable. Lightning ballistas will have a 5k magic damage attached to them. So if you hit a group with a lightning ballista, they lose 5,000 magicka. If you hit a group with a what other ballista was it? The one that reduced their stamina?
No,
Oil catapult.
Oil catapults, yeah.
Oil catapult will reduce will take away 5k stamina along with the effects, and the effects and snares cannot be purged anymore. So, like, I don't usually use siege. I still won't use siege, but having stronger siege is kind of a good way to tackle stacked groups, like very tight groups, just because they can usually just brush off siege damage and siege effects with purge, but now they're gonna have to kind of deal with this, and just that little bit of an annoyance is gonna make it a little better as far as
I posted a lot in that thread.
Yep.
I do not like the unpurgeable part. Just because I experienced that before, and it's not fun when you're in like a 14-man and you're surrounded by 40 blues and they all have oil catapults on you. You ruins the game for you. You lose control of your character.
Yeah, I think
actually,
it's
I'm
a
glad you
double-edged
bring that up.
sword
So-
for sure.
Yeah. No, because here's the thing: you want it to be where the 14 are using the siege to kind of even the front against 40. But if the 40 are using the siege to make it just easier to kill the 14, then that's an issue.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not what
it's
we
always
want.
been whoever has the most players can set up the most siege.
Yeah, and that's exactly why this siege change is going to be counterintuitive. People were supportive of it because they thought, oh, it's going to give us tools as smaller groups and as solo players to attack larger groups. That's not the case. Smaller groups don't have people in order to split them off and start sieging. It's the larger groups that can afford to do that. It's if this siege change goes through as it is, like unpurgeable effects, we're going to see inner keeps only they're only going to be able to be won with massive overwhelming numbers. And the idea here is we want less of that, not more of that. So if a change is going to encourage that kind of zerging, I say that it needs to be scrapped. I'm totally in favor of the increase in siege damage because right now it's kind of pointless.
And another thing
Well
someone
said.
made was it's actually kind of unbalanced with the additional effects that they have. Just the healing, the stamina damage, the magicka damage. It's all static. Why can't you make it like
Half your region or
proc stat?
something. Yeah.
Like proc stat. Why don't you make it just like proc stat where it scales up based on
Yeah.
the amount of people you hit?
Yeah.
You know,
Like
like
a-
1,000 stam for like a single player. Why using siege against a single player? But if
Yeah.
you hit a full stack, why isn't it just like drain 5,000, 6,000 stam?
Yeah, like for example, if the oil cat change goes through, it takes away 5,000 stam. You get 2 oil catapults in one group. There goes 10,000 stamina. That's not gonna hurt the stamina builds as much as the magicka builds. Suddenly, they're totally vulnerable to CC, and while that's a good thing, it's going to turn those inner keep fights into these disgusting little slogs, and no one's gonna like it. It's one of those changes that people are hyped about, but it's gonna be terrible.
Also,
Yeah.
the thing about the unpurgeable oil catapults, you get hit by one snare. That catapult recharges before the snare ends. So
Yeah.
you're going to get hit by the second one unless you blow a roll dodge. Like the 5,000 stamina plus a roll dodge, that's at least 75% of my stamina. That's a magicka build.
Yeah.
Well, they absolutely shouldn't stack. I mean, if they stack, then that's pretty
Yeah.
broken because
Yeah.
somebody could just hit us with, 5 different siege, and then it's like, okay, goodbye my entire resource pool. That
I think
I-
I think
what
it
is-
is
That
gonna
can't
stack.
happen.
think
I was
it
gonna
is
say what
gonna
it
stack.
sounds like. It sounds like
It's gonna stack.
the initial hit is not a debuff. It's just boom, you lose that
Yeah,
5k
it's damage.
stamina.
It's damage.
Well, the
It's
magicka
damage.
the magic
Well, what
one
if it
is a
worked
dot.
like CC immunity or something, where if it's already applied to
I mean-
you, then it can't be applied to you again or something?
Oh god.
I think it would be totally fine for instead of this, this static amount that's removed, just have it like debuff regen or something and make it purgeable. What's the point of having a skill in the Alliance War section called Purge if it's not going to remove effects from things like Siege? It doesn't make
Okay,
sense.
But
so
the
my only
reason
issue
why they're-
with
Oh,
Purge,
good.
like my only issue with Purge is Purge makes these like effects and debuffs like irrelevant. A lot of times they're
Yeah.
really just completely irrelevant. So I mean, you look at it from both sides. If it's not purgeable, you are giving larger groups more tools to take down these smaller groups. Yeah, the smaller groups can use siege, but like you said, they don't have as many players to split up on siege. But when they are purgeable, the siege is irrelevant. No one really is going to use those siege.
Just like,
But why not just change? No, go ahead, Sam.
well, just to like build on everything that everyone's been saying. I mean, I generally play in some of the larger groups. Like I don't stack multiple raids or anything, but I do play in some of the larger groups. And I think this is going to be a change in favor of larger groups for the same reasons that barbecue went over. And I'm totally in favor of the increased damage, but beyond that, like not being able to purge the effects, like that kind of goes back to like maybe purge is the issue. It's not siege. And
Yeah.
anyone that's
Yeah.
gone through that thread, I mean, there's so much on that topic. But I just remember back when 1.6 hit, I played a lot in Blackwater Blade. I didn't play my vet character very much, and the siege was real. Like, and just with the damage and all of that, like you can really see what the new meta would be, and you have to run in large groups to be able to defend a keep. It didn't really help the small group players. Like I had to go find random people in zone to group up with, and I think that's going to happen again.
Can we have a 30-minute tangent about what the word meta really means?
No, Oh,
Hey.
is that like a?
It's a
It's a
thing.
It's an
thing.
inside joke. Only
I'll
cool
take
kids know
I'll
it.
take the unpopular opinion and say that I actually kind of like the non-purgeable debuffs because it's
Yeah.
not really that hard for me to not step in a red circle. Go ahead and shoot your siege at me. I just won't step in it.
Yeah.
But if you're
I
a
mean,
big
the Zerg groups
Zerg,
will
then I'm
attack.
gonna hit you. I'm gonna hit some of your people with it. So I kind of like it.
I
You
think,
know-
It's
You'll
definitely
have-
more of a group thing.
I
Yeah,
think
you'll
that
have you'll have bigger groups, sending in Nightblades that ambush spam you. And let's see you dodge out when you get ambush spammed, or somebody's that's runs in and spams fair, or somebody's throwing shards at you. There's a lot of stuff going on when you're going up against a big group, and that's the major issue. Is that when you're going up against a big group, they're going to benefit the most from using these new siege
Yeah.
changes, and that's
Yeah.
what's scary, because it's like every update there's something that buffs the Zerg, and
Yeah.
if this is going to be that next update that buffs Zergs even more, that's going to be painful for me playing ESO. That's going
Yeah.
to suck.
I
And
think
I'll tell you a couple things that come to mind. When DC lost No Mercy, when they were done, DC had no real good guilds. DC got farmed endlessly, and I had to watch all these terrible DC just roll in and get chewed up on a daily basis in Cyrodiil. This mostly happened at like Alicewell, and it's mostly like Havoc. They would just go bust a keep down, go to the roof, set up a couple siege, and all the DC would just roll in there. They'd stop sieging the keep, they'd let DC respawn there. These idiots would die for like hours on end, and they just had the choke at the steps just locked down with siege. It's so easy for groups to do that. It's so easy when you have a 24-man group to have 4 people just dedicated to siege and doing some supplemental BS too. So that's going to happen, number one. Number two, if you're that 24-man group, you got to go through the choke or whatever. All right, guys, everyone ball up. Make sure we slot in some more barriers now. You're going to roll around the corner and you're going to go to spot A through C, where siege isn't going to hit you. You know, you can go through the choke. Okay, we're getting hit with the slow. We're getting hit with the remove stamina. Who gives a damn? Everyone's going to be slugging away at Breath of Life. They're going to roll through a ton of barriers. They're going to rally on the corner. They're going to group there. They're going to just pack up and be like, all right, we're out of siege range. Most of the siege can't hit us in the keep. Now we're built up. We're good to go. We recovered. Let's roll through the keep and just bomb them. There's ways around this stuff, and it doesn't take much planning or strategy to figure out. You're
Yeah.
going to get around that. So my take on the siege and how siege is always going to be and how it's always been, it's either too strong and it gets nerfed and we don't think about it for about 5 months. And then they're like, hey guys, we're going to talk about siege again. You know, we don't need this. Like, make siege relevant. It's a supplemental tool. It's not an answer though.
Yeah,
It
I
never
agree
is
completely.
going to be an answer in Cyrodiil. It can't be the solution. People don't want it to be a solution. It's a PvP game. We're not playing tank wars here. We don't want to set up siege and shoot people all day. It's a tool in Cyrodiil. It's one of the many tools that we should have, but it's not PvP at the end of the day. It's not the Zerg Buster. What do I do to big groups inside Imperial City when they group up with 24 people? Go, oh, don't worry, they're not getting Telvar stones. Those people don't care. Half of them don't even know, because half of them don't have a brain. They're told to group up, they just group up, they have 24 people. I can't even use Siege in Cyrodiil. So it doesn't solve the problem in Imperial City. It's not going to solve it in Cyrodiil. You're going to have more healing effects going on. You're going to kill the server even more. You're not discouraging balls. And that's really the core of the problem, is that the balls even exist. You know, they try to put in tools to break the ball groups, but you need to add a huge layer of risk to the ball groups for even existing in the first place. You know, and that's where it comes back to AoE caps. It's not Siege. It's not the answer. So it's nice. It's good we're talking about it. Siege sure could use a buff, but it's not going to solve things. You make it too strong, it's going to be a disastrous tool for these good groups that exist. Like the guests we have here, they're all in good guilds. They will slaughter the masses. They'll slaughter the pubs. They're going to farm you up. They're the 4-star generals in those groups because they just eat up people all day with this kind of stuff. It's so damn easy to do.
Yeah, I agree
and
with you.
screwed up.
Do you guys remember the days of unpurgeable oil catapult snares?
Yeah, I remember
those,
you guys gave
yep.
oil catapults to every DC available.
Those were rough days, man. Those were rough days. So yeah, I think that if any solution is going to be found to these ball groups, and I play in a ball group. I mean, I play in a ball group. We go up to 24, we ball up, and we use our abilities. If there's going to be a solution, I don't think it should be Siege being the god from the machine, where you put it down and you point and click. We should be using our abilities, not pointing and clicking these one-shot answers. And I think that is the line of thinking that ZeniMax should be going for the solution to ball groups.
Yeah, a lot of the issues are like game mechanics, like within the abilities. Like for instance, Purge is something that we talk about. Breath of Life, like they'll go ahead and they'll find a sorcerer and they'll say, hey, this sorcerer needs to be nerfed because he's able to run away from a Zerg. So we got to nerf this ability, Bolt Escape, because he's running away from Zergs. But they don't look at abilities like Purge, where you can literally purge every ability nonstop with no penalty whatsoever for free. And then these groups have multiple Templars spamming it at the same time. These are the abilities that they need to look at. Purge, AoE healing, Grand Healing. Where's the penalty to these abilities? Because the issue isn't the solo player running away from the Zerg. The issue is the Zerg.
Yeah.
And we really need to. They really need to pinpoint the cause of this lag. And I really think it's these Zergs. I don't even think it is. It is the Zergs. I mean, me, Finger, Cypher, we teamed up yesterday. We had good PvP for a nice bit. And then we ran into a Zerg and we all split. Like, we were at the Elysia Bridge. We ran into a Zerg. Everybody broke up because there was one AD Zerg that was too big. It was like 60 of them. Like, you literally cannot play the game when these people are near you.
Yeah.
So
That was last night?
This was last night. And these
Yeah, that
are
was
these are
ridiculous.
these are mechanics that they need to look at. And I stood there away from the Zerg and I just looked at them. And all you see is Purge. My screen was white. I almost went blind. It was just purge after purge after purge, and nobody was even attacking the Zerg. They're just spamming it for no reason.
Yeah.
Purge is uncappable. I mean, it has no cap. Barrier has no cap. So all of the things that empower like large groups like this, they are uncappable, and yet the damage incoming to them has a cap. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
It
It's
doesn't
like,
make any sense. It doesn't make
and then
any
they
sense.
take out things like ground oil that just used to like grind
Oh,
up
man,
these
ground
huge
oil.
groups. And they take out things like dynamic ulti, and they take out things, and they put in things like AoE caps, even though the entire community is just, completely against it, and they don't listen, and it's just.
All right, guys, listen.
This is where we are now.
We're gonna get into this topic right after we're done with the news, because I just want to say one comment before we leave Siege. Regarding Siege, Siege should never be the answer for one reason, and the reason is things like Imperial City. You're still gonna have Zergs in there, so if Siege is the answer, you can't even use Siege in the Imperial City. So that's just that's flawed. You can't have Siege being the Zerg buster when people are allowed or able to Zerg in the Imperial City. One last new topic that we want to discuss, I think this is the last one, is the no CP campaigns that are coming in. How do you guys feel about these campaigns? Do you think they're going to be populated? Do you think they're going to be empty? Personally, I think they're going to be empty, but I still want them there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be empty.
They're going to
They'll be
be
completely
Yeah, I
empty.
agree. Exactly.
I think it's
It'll
a
be
good
good for
option for
Dueling.
Blackwater Blade.
Yeah, I mean, I want them empty, but I still want them. I mean, I don't want them empty, but even if they're empty, I still want them there because it gives a tool for like a stable environment for people who want to just duel or do some organized fights, which is just. I mean, I know that's not what everyone does, but like it's just like if we're gonna have duels, we might as well have it on a no CP campaign, just so everyone's on the same page.
I think the other aspect of the no CP campaigns is just it brings an attractiveness to the game for new players who are still grinding and catching up, that are just coming into Cyrodiil with people completely min-maxed and just getting slaughtered. So
it might not be empty. It might be. It might
not
have
be,
a medium to high population. But what I'm saying is, even if it is empty, I still want it there. Like I just still want it there, just to have it there.
Should it be
I
an
agree.
existing campaign or a new campaign?
No, a new campaign.
They
Or-
could make it an existing campaign.
Oh, actually, no, because they should make an existing one because now you're going to be able to assign any home campaign on any character with regardless of faction.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need more campaigns until our current campaigns fill up. So
Yeah, we don't need new ones. That's exactly right.
And they're doing it with the low, the non-vet server as well, I think.
I honestly
Yeah,
don't
they
even
are.
see people wanting to duel there. There's a lot of builds that are most
CP
people's
oriented.
builds
Well,
today, they're built off of their CP. They don't even work without their CP.
it'd be a completely
Good.
different
That
meta.
means they're gonna lose.
It'd be a completely
No,
different
I
meta.
know what I'm saying is the equipment. Like
Yeah, I
you
know. I
have
know
to
what you're saying.
change your equipment to go in there. Like even my build would work with it. I would have significant less regen. Sure, they have significant less everything else too, and it does change the entire style of the fight. For example, sustain across the board isn't going to be there, and that's probably a positive thing for a lot
For
of the
duels, it's
fights
a good
that
thing.
we deal with,
Yeah.
because we all know from dueling a lot how much sustain people can have. It's like, okay, this fight is really about near endless sustain. How much pressure can I apply before I just
Who messes
catch
up
them with a
first?
combo? You know, that's what it comes down to, and that's a flaw with the system. Um, More than just saying, hey, we have something, you know, where CP's removed and stuff. But I don't know. I don't see it happening. You know, there would be just endless complaints. Sorry, you're gonna say, I can't get my shields up high enough. You'll never hear the end of it. Like people's builds, and
Well, they don't have
someone
to
is
go
gonna get
there.
the short end of the stick.
They don't have
No,
to go there.
yeah, no, I know. I don't think it's.
That's what he's saying, though. That's what Bangladesh is saying. They
I
won't.
don't think people are gonna go there, and I don't even think people are going to want to duel there. I'm
Okay.
just that's my take. I could be
I
wrong.
agree.
I don't know.
No, I agree 100%.
Everyone's build
'Cause
right now is CP oriented. There's no one who isn't CP oriented. Like
True.
if you min max, you're CP oriented. You would have to create new armor sets. You'd see return of things like seducer, returns things like warlock. Just you would see sustain sets becoming relevant again in those campaigns. But like I don't know, like just having it there isn't the worst thing in the world. Like, it's just an option in my opinion. Just having it there will, especially new players who come in and they don't have any CP at all. Like at least they'll feel welcome in a way on those campaigns. They'll feel like they're not
Yeah.
at a huge disadvantage when they go there.
It'll
Not
be kind of
necess-
like a step up from
I personally
non-vet to non-CP to regular vet.
I'd like to
The-
see like a certain value, like a 300 CP campaign or a 250 CP campaign, like just certain numbers. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's irrelevant with the CP cap, but
people who have CP issues, they don't go. I don't think they're going to want to go to a no CP campaign. People who have low CP, they just get in a group. So I don't really see people going into that no CP campaign just because they don't have CP. No, they're just going to say, hey, let's go to a regular campaign and get in a group, because it doesn't matter how many CP you have when you're in a larger group.
Agree.
But couldn't that like disincentivize that entire thought process? I mean, like if I can make it on my own in this like separate campaign where I'm not entirely gimped against these like, pro players, then maybe the first thing that I think of when I go into this campaign is not to just group up with the largest group I can find and just,
Well,
run the map.
the main thing I see with lack of CP is it only shows in small scale PvP or
Exactly.
dueling. It doesn't show when you're in a group. Like I
Exactly.
can literally turn my CP off and get in a group with myself, Fingrush, Lefty, and Cypher, and do just fine with 0 CP because I'm not reliant on my own abilities 100%. So that's the issue with no CP. I don't think anybody's gonna just say, oh, okay, now that there's a no CP campaign, I don't have to get in a group anymore. No.
no, I mean, I feel you. I just
think it's good to have it there regardless. Like it's,
Agree.
just, it's
I
not
agree
it's
with
not
you,
gonna
Cypher.
hurt.
I'm
But
not saying don't put it there. I think it should be there, and it definitely needs to be there for non-vet 100%.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It should. I want to have it there because I would like to duel.
I would like to look
You
into
know,
it. Maybe
no
make a new
CP.
build for dueling, an actual build that. The problem right now is duels. There's no such thing as resource management in duels. If you have enough CP and if you have enough regen, resource management is kind of irrelevant, and it might be just a little more relevant on those campaigns. And you might see a shift. Like you might or you might not, but we'll see. I
See-
don't think it's a bad thing.
I think perhaps the overarching issue there is how the CPs are interacting with no soft caps.
Yeah.
Yeah, the removal of soft caps and allowing people to stack the heck out of one stat. It's what's allowing this sort of endless sustain sort of thing. Whereas fighting before, like in 1.5 and before, and you had to manage your resources. You had to be careful about that.
It's not even a soft caps. It's the fact that you don't have to use gear sets in
Yeah.
order to get sustain. Because before, if you wanted sustain, you would need to run something like Seducer. That's why sets like what is it? What's that? Vicious Ophidian. That set was so sought after for stamina builds because it gave you stamina cost reduction. Now you don't need any set for cost reduction. You just get the cost reduction from the CP tree and your passes within your class. Same thing with recovery. You don't need sets for recovery because you can get an extra 25% straight from the CP tree.
And
So that's
reduction.
I don't think it's soft caps. It's not soft caps at all. It's just the fact that you can get
Well,
things
it's CP
that you,
working without soft caps. Like that's what he.
Yeah,
The
it's
combination
like the both
of the two,
them.
man.
well, yeah,
Combination,
combination of the two. Yeah, right.
So let's transition from the new stuff to the current stuff that we want to discuss. Current state of PvP, as far as there was a this. Okay, well, first of all, there's a video I want to play regarding one of our casters, Fangrush. It just shows sometimes
God.
we are very, very passionate about this game. Sometimes we are too passionate. Fangrush has been a victim of the passion a little too many times. But I found this video yesterday on the forums, and I couldn't help but share it with you guys. This is
Here we go.
this is good.
I haven't seen this. So.
This is for you, Lefty.
Alright.
You putting it up on stream?
what's like if you
Oh, okay.
yeah. So no one talking to TeamSpeak because it's gonna cover it.
I love how ESO has grown. They've always listened to their players and changed for the better.
My absolute
It's
favorite
rare.
thing about ESO is the
Why is this fucking safe zone here to begin with?
Anything.
I get to have a freaking
What the
ice now.
fuck do you need a safe zone here for?
There's just so much lore and culture.
There's over 500,000 ways to create just one piece of gear.
It's a full package with the looks and the feel of it.
You guys have to realize the community in this game is the best.
Stupidest fucking change ever seen.
I I was in tears last night.
That's amazing.
I didn't know what to expect when I watched that, and as soon as this Fangrush's face came in, talking about this
That's awesome.
the safe zone.
Oh god.
So much finger shit.
Oh boy. Okay, so
Oh,
let's. There was the thread on the forums. Eric Roble created a thread regarding AoE caps. I actually did not look at that thread. Fangrush, you are the master of AoE caps, the man himself. I'll let you take the board right here. What did Eric say? What are you seeing on that thread? Do you think we're gonna get to a result?
What do I think we'll get? Boy, where do we start?
Well,
All
fill
right.
in the chat with what the thread, because some people haven't seen it.
Sure. So, everyone's been talking about AoE caps forever. It's been in some of our podcasts. People were spamming ESO live podcasts with it. So Roble finally made a forum account. He finally made a thread on it, and it just talks about, hey, we want to talk about AoE caps. He says we want to have a successful discussion with the players, which I don't know what a successful discussion is with ZeniMax anymore. He opened up a thread, and 2 weeks later he stopped in just to pretty much not talk about it at all. I will tell you what he said, because I think for me this is what kills me the most. It's AoE caps. Sorry, I'm just getting the thread up here. Give me a sec. But basically, he's dodging the issue almost entirely. So AoE caps just need to go. That is a general thing from everybody. It doesn't matter what group you're in, what setting, what play style. Almost everybody is unanimous on AoE caps needing to go. And despite that, Robo won't even explain why they're in, why they were ever put in. I mean, we linked that poll before that was on the forums, where like over 4,000 people voted to remove, or they voted not to put them in. Actually, this was before they were put in. They said no, don't put in AoE caps, and that was like 80%. There's not even 4,000 players to vote anymore to not put in AoE caps. They put them in anyway. We see they don't work, you know. And again, like I said earlier, my whole argument is there's no. The biggest thing I see with ball groups is there's no risk to adding more players in there. If I'm in Cyrodiil and I start getting lit up and there's a ball group nearby, I can literally run over to them and I instantly gain so many things in safety. They can't single target me as easily. I'm getting hit with heals from random people. Maybe a barrier will hit me. Maybe I'll get a defensive ult. I have AoE cap reduction. I mean, just running inside a ball group as a solo player gives you so much value. So that's why when you see ball groups and you see all the pugs and the pubs, they're hugging along with the ball groups, right? So this is the problem we have in Cyrodiil. This is why we have front lines on a single. It's all single track driven. There's the inside ring of Cyrodiil, right? People rarely go out to the things like Brindle and I don't even know what the other keeps are called. No one goes to those keeps.
Definitely Draclo.
Dragonclaw.
Dragonclaw, best keep in A.
Like, if your self-esteem's low, maybe you go take them to like build your group up or something. Nobody takes that shit. No one wants it.
Draclo's got the best fishing in Cyrodiil, I'm sorry.
It's
Best fishing. So, if you want to go like pound some doors for 5 minutes, you can go take them. But anyway, the point is, it's really single track driven, and everyone collides, and there's ball groups. Like, it's just what the game is now. I mean, that the single track thing is where pugs actually start factoring in. Like the AD group that we bumped into yesterday, that was a massive group, but there was tons of just random people just inside, around them, near them, and it just becomes a problem that just kills everyone's clients. It kills your client. There's nothing you can do. You just sit back and watch, unless you are a ball group too, of equal size where you can actually contest it. But anyway, Cypher, to get back to your point, Robal's in charge of AoE caps, okay? People were asking about it yesterday, even in ESO Live, when Wheeler was on. And it's not Wheeler's department. It's not Wheeler's thing to solve. And I'm not trying to throw Robal under the bus on it, but it is his job to really deliver an answer in the same way Wheeler came on and talked about all the things that we talked about on this podcast and we got a response on. We need Robal to do the same. And everything that relates to PvP comes back to performance. And this is one of the biggest issues, is breaking up ball groups. And for me, there's no risk in being in a ball group. And until you add risk to being in a ball group, until you add a way to directly counter it, to make it just as risky to ball up as it is not to be in a ball group, then what's the point? There is no other point. You just get, you mass up as big as you can. And, that's why we brought some of these guests on here. A lot of the guests do play in bigger groups. They also play in very small groups too. I've played with Barbecue a lot over my time. I've duoed with him a lot, and a lot of times he's in bigger groups too now. And we'll get to that. They have a lot of opinions. I've talked to all these players here, but Robal. The threat is a disaster, man. It's a monumental failure. Without being insulting, that's the best way I can say it. Everybody's saying one thing. 95% of the player base is saying one thing, and he just won't acknowledge it. There's no discussion at this point. He says, let's have a discussion. There's no discussion right now, and we need to have a discussion. The same way we had a discussion on all the other PvP issues that we just talked about, that we're excited about. Well, we want to be excited about stuff in the short term, and the stuff that affects us in the short term is performance. And this is like the leading thing to performance. It really is. I mean, there's no other way around it. If we can't break these things up, if we never do, performance is not going to get fixed changing line of sight things or changing the mechanics in a 48-man scenario that happens a fraction of the time in Cyrodiil. It's silly stuff. So,
Yeah.
I'll pass it off for now, Cypher. Go ahead.
Okay, so in my opinion, like, they haven't said anything regarding it. and I know, like, for example, they with arenas and dueling and stuff, they never mentioned it, and then just one day they come on ESO Live and they're like, okay, we are putting all this shit in the game, and I think
There we go.
okay, that
4.
so Eric is supposed to be on the next podcast with them.
It's gonna be awkward now.
Eric is going to be on the next podcast with them, so I'm looking forward to that before I make any judgments, because they might just be waiting to announce it on their show because it's a big deal for everyone, and maybe they just want to do that because, you know, if they had announced arenas and battlegrounds on the forums, I might have not taken them as seriously as them announcing on the show, just because it's less viable for people to see that. So I think that they are going to address it when Eric is on the show in January, and if they don't, then that's an issue. But I'm going to wait until then before I make any adjustments regarding it. I think they're going to remove AoE caps. I have a gut feeling that they're just going to remove it, because if they're willing to give us everything we've asked for regarding, you know, they're giving us Undaunted sets for AP and gold. I've never even imagined that they were going to do that. I would have even have asked for that. It's something I wanted, but I would never ask for it. They arenas, battlegrounds, dueling, all the stuff they claim they're going to give us it. I don't think they're going to cut us short on the AoE caps. I really do think they're going to remove AoE caps or reduce them very, very extremely to where, like, it's the first 24 people take full damage, and at that point, you know, whatever. But in my opinion, I think they're going to remove them.
I think AoE caps will be removed too, just from the way things are going as of late. I think AoE caps will get removed. However, I don't think it's going to change much, because every time I'm playing ESO, a lot of the times I'm lagging. There's not even a fight going on. Like I'm literally looking at the Zerg, but they're not fighting another Zerg. They're just, you know, running around spamming AoEs, and that causes a lag. I think it's some like serious coding issues with the game, optimization issues. I think it's a lot of things. I know on the podcast, Brian kind of tried to steer everybody away from the lighting patch, and it was like, hey, no, it wasn't the lighting patch. It was just the timing, and it just made it look like it was the lighting patch. I think the lighting patch had a lot to do with performance issues, and they're so deep in. They can't turn it back. And just from hearing how Brian talked about the performance, they don't seem to know what to do as far as getting the game optimized and running properly. He basically said, hey, we're going to do it one step at a time. We're going to look at this. We removed dares. We removed 666 dares. That didn't fix it. We're going to remove this. That doesn't fix it. I don't know.
It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah,
I know it's a process. I'm just saying, I personally don't think that AoE caps are going to solve much of the performance
issue.
It won't solve it. I think it's the
step
biggest
one.
thing that helps it across the board. It stops it from getting like where you're just riding your horse. You're like, cool, I got 500 ping. What's going on in Cyrodiil?
It's short term. It's short term. It's short term help right now. It's something we can get right now, which is honestly, like, if they make just a few steps in the right direction, you know, they might realize something and they'll figure it out. I mean, obviously, if they knew what they had to do, they would have already done it. They clearly don't know what they have to do, but they're trying out solutions, and we should encourage them to try out our solutions.
I think AoE caps just needs to be removed for the better of Cyrodiil PvP, not the performance.
Well, it's going to help both, in my opinion. The battles will be shorter.
Performance is a byproduct.
Yeah.
It's a better byproduct of what we're asking it for. I agree with you, King. It should be done for fairness' sake, because Cyrodiil is just it's ruled by larger groups, and it becomes a numbers game, and it's just it's never been as bad as it is now. But on top of that, for performance' sake, it's going to change the way groups have to function in combat. Like, yeah, you can group up, you can ride together, you can buff together, you can group up to do things, and they should, to an extent, but you shouldn't clash one ball into another. I mean, Robo went as far to say that in his thread. He says, we don't want groups to just mindlessly bump into each other like spamming Steel Tornado. He literally said that. But his solution is 1, siege, 2, to add ranged abilities or something that are somehow going to spread people out. Like, what, am I going to arrow spray people while they're just running across, healing each other? Are we going to hit them with Wall of Elements? I mean, what are we going to do with ranged abilities?
Yeah.
You have to be out of your mind to think that's
doing it
That's-
is one thing. They nerfed Blazing Spear, which is one of the very few ranged AoEs.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
well, if that's what you're going for, why are you doing things like that that just make no sense?
The one positive thing is they said that they would do that. It's going to function more as it should, but they already did that once. So like now it'll scale up to 5 targets. It's like cool, and then after 6, AoE caps kick in, and it just goes right down, the graph on damage. So what's the point?
That ability is going to be adjusted, by
this-
the way.
It's going to be adjusted, but if it's still impacted by AoE caps,
It's
like
irrelevant.
you have to factor in what that adjustment means. It's like, okay, it scales up 5% per target. Say it goes up to 20 targets, but if everything after 6 is still half, like it's
That
still
doesn't
not
even
going to
make
be.
sense. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're doing
If,
backwards math. You're multiplying, dividing, like what's going on? Just take out AoE caps and don't put like a one like. I don't think it's good to be like, oh, they're grouped up. Just use the one skill we put in the game that just blows them away. Like you don't even have to try. There's X amount of people. It just blows them away. It's the same thing as like Siege. It's like just putting in something simplistic. I don't want it to be easy to kill a big group. I want to have a small group where it's challenging to go up bigger numbers and take them out, not just be like, oh, there's X amount. Yeah, just drop them with that skill. We're good. Just send in anybody with it.
I think a prime example of AoE of a major AoE cap issue is Fingerish. We ran together. We've been running together these last couple of days, and it's been awesome. A prime example: we were in the sewers, right? We ran up on a group. We funneled these guys into the perfect spot in a tunnel, right? I dropped in the gate, he dropped the meteor. We both still tornadoed everything at the same exact time. But only 3 people died. And then the rest of it is us running around trying to pick off the rest of the people that didn't die. Mind you, all these guys were in the same exact area when we dropped that bomb on them. But the AoE caps only allowed us to do proper damage to a certain number of them. So that's a major issue with AoE caps. Like when things like that happen, that entire group should be dead. Not just 1, 2, 3 people who weren't affected from the AoE caps, but the entire group should drop in those situations. And that's my thing with AoE caps. That's why I want them gone. And hopefully that discourages these groups from grouping up, because things like that can happen to them, and it does help performance. Hopefully that's the best case scenario.
I'll just say that a lot of the groups that
AoE caps.
A lot of the groups that used to run in 12 to 15, like they like to run in 12 to 15. That was their comfortable range. A lot of these groups now are in a way forced to run 20 to 24 if they want to be able to take on larger groups. And I know for a fact that a lot of these players don't want to run with 24 people. Their sweet spot was 12 to 15, and they want to run that group as long as they're able to, competitively and strategically take out larger numbers through coordination, through skill, through timing. That's all people want. Coordination, skill, and timing to be a factor, not just numbers.
You're
Taking out
preaching to
AoE
me,
caps. Thank you. Taking out AoE caps will definitely reduce the size of groups. People won't have the need and the necessity to just add more people onto their group.
And let me just say this, because I don't want people to misinterpret what I was saying. I'm not saying that 2 people should be able to kill a large group. It was only me and Fingerish versus about 8 people in the sewers. What I'm saying is that if we do enough to that group to kill 3 of them, and they're all in the same exact area, they all should be affected equally. And that's the issue with AoE caps, because when we're going up against that group, because it's only me and Fingerish, we take 100% damage. 100%. We have no AoE cap issues on us because we're a smaller group. So we're actually punished in the long run for running in a smaller group. So I'm not saying that smaller groups should be able to kill larger groups. No, because if that larger group would have did the same thing to us, we would have dropped too. They just didn't play it properly. So I'm just saying AoE caps is a level of fairness within a game that obviously it gives the larger groups an advantage, and that's the issue. It's on paper. Larger groups get an advantage. That's my issue.
If I may, we're talking about AoE caps, and I have one particular issue with mention of its removal. Now, on paper, I support it because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take away mechanical advantages from overwhelming numbers, which is already its own advantage. But there were times in this game where you could run with 4 or 5 people that were just on their spec. They were on their game and they knew how to play. They knew how to run the rotations. They would run into 24 and they would reliably win. And we did all of that while there was still, for most skills, an AoE cap of 6. And that was even before you had, the next 2 tiers of damage. And that was because of dynamic ultimate game. So now with AoE caps, it's kind of like we're going into unexplored territory. It may end up being the silver bullet to ball groups. It may end up making them stronger. We've never had an environment without them.
I don't think it'd make them stronger. Like I don't.
No, because the thing about AoE caps is it insulates the larger group versus the smaller group. So for people that don't really understand what AoE caps is, we posted it in chat a couple of times, but it basically means that you only do 100% damage to 6 people, and it scales down. The damage that you do to the other people in that range scales down all the way down to 25%. So for a total of 60 targets, you're only hitting 6 of them for 100%. So if you have 6 people standing on one faction and you have 60 on the other, those 6 people can AoE those 60 people, and they're only going to hit 6 of them for max damage. Whereas those 60 people hit those 6 people, and they're going to hit them for full damage because they are 6.
So
now the issue with that is that, for one, the larger group already has the advantage because they're larger. They have more eyes, they have more heals, they have more damage. Versus the 6 people who literally can't even do the damage to that group. They in order to be able to do the damage to that group, you have to have insane damage, insane coordination. The point is that you're just supposed to have the chance to be able to wipe them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, the tools aren't there anymore.
But what I'm
tools
talking
are
about
absolutely
is
not there.
in practice. Let's say now 6 people is that's the upper limit of the first tier of AoE caps. Now let's say it's something like 12 versus 60. 6 of that 12 are going to effectively have 50% mitigation from the 60. When you have no AoE caps for anyone in that group of 12 is taking 100% damage, and that's why I'm saying is that an AoE cap removal might end up being a double-edged sword. We really don't know. I mean, this isn't something that we can predict without actual testing data.
But that's the thing. We can't predict it because AoE caps were not always in place. There was a time when AoE caps didn't exist.
They've always been in place. At one time, people were not aware of them, so they weren't aware of the ball group meta. Certain skills also weren't capped, such as
Gravity Crush from Nova.
Gravity Crush from Nova. There was a time when Talons wasn't, and there was also a time when Streak wasn't.
AoE, the way I see it is okay, as far as numbers go, 6 of that 12 won't get the cap, and then 54 of that 60 won't get it. So it ends up you're trading 54 for 6, and your group. The way I see it is with the current cap, that 12 is gonna die 100% of the time, no matter what, because of the cap. But when you remove the cap, they might die just a little bit faster, or if they coordinate their AoE properly, they might actually wipe the group of 60.
Yeah, it's true. It's that's what I'm saying. It may end up fixing the problem. It may not, because it can go either way. Removal of AoE caps. I'm in favor of an increase or removal. That's something that I wouldn't mind, but it is unexplored territory. We don't know how it'll go.
I don't think. Here's the thing. In 1.6, if you had given us dynamic ult gen, totally different story. I could go in with 4 people and bust up 20-something people if I'm dropping ults every other skill. Okay. But in this meta, if I go in and I fight Haxus with 4 people or something, or I would fight VE, and if I had battle running the entire fight, and then I get other ults too. Let's just say I have battle the entire fight, and I have some other ults. I'm not gonna kill any of them. They're gonna kill me, and I am not gonna kill them, because this meta, the damage you do to people is so low when it comes to AoE. It's just so low. I mean, even if you're just 1v1, it takes me 4 wrecking blows or something to kill someone, whereas in 1.6, I could just wrecking blow someone, rush execute, done. And I'm more in favor of this one now. I want it to be a longer fight. I don't want it to be over in a blink. But if people are grouped up, I don't want AoE caps. I want to go in and say, listen, we need X amount of damage, and that's what we're going to bring to the party, and we're going to drop it on them.
Well,
I would prefer that over dynamic ult gen. I'd rather get my ult and deal the punch to them rather than say, hey, I'm just going to flood out ults and we're not going to kill anything. Let's rock and roll, because that's what would happen right now.
Yeah.
Like, it would come down to numbers again. It'd say, sure, we have dynamic ult gen, but we're going to need a certain amount of numbers to get through all the healing they have and all the AoE caps, because that's what it is right now. There's just too much damage passed off on a bull crap in this patch.
Snoo wants to say something.
Snoo.
Snare.
Yeah,
Snare.
I mean, you guys, I don't know if everybody knows, but like right now I've been running with VE, and we are basically the definition of what a ball group is right now. But I'm also in favor of removing AoE caps. I'm, not used to playing in groups of 24, but I've always been a team player and liked playing in groups. And, just back in 1.4, 1.5, with dynamic ulti as well, but with the reduced healing, like AoE healing, like that's another really big issue that we haven't talked about, how now with AoE heals you can kind of out heal AoE damage. So
Yeah.
The issue with AoE is that it's supposed to be a tool for smaller groups to attack multiple players. It's like AoE is literally just supposed to be for the smaller group to attack multiple people around them who are like encompassing them. But it's been inverted on itself when you talk about AoE caps, because it literally limits the amount of damage that small group can do, when the entire point of an AoE is to do more damage to the larger group. So it's just completely counterintuitive. It doesn't make any sense at all.
And another thing that's being seriously overlooked is healing in itself, because there's no AoE cap on that. Like, you can spam grand healing on the ground.
6.
Everybody gets
It's 6. Yeah, it's 6.
There's a cap of 6.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's 6.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I take that back.
Get wrecked.
Healing,
Yeah,
healing. I know we're not gonna talk about the CP system, but like, I looked into like the different ways you can boost your heals, and you can get 16% from quick recovery, 25% from blessed, and then however many percentage from your crit bonus. And I've seen like, I don't know if it's just Breath of Life that's doing this, but like I've seen some crazy ass heals, like from 15% health to full with one Breath of Life. I mean, I know this is
It's
not...
Breath of Life.
It's Breath of Life.
It's Breath of Life, yeah.
Yeah, I mean... It's
Templars
passes
also
too.
have...
Templar passes stack
They
as
have
well.
a passive execute heal thing.
The 30%?
Execute
There's
heal.
also the Mundus ritual.
Yeah.
There's plenty of ways to stack your Breath of Life.
They need to look at things that stack. There's just too many things that stack. They try to prevent it with having major and minor buffs, but there's still things that, like, snares don't have major and minor buffs. Snares are just, like, open-ended. So I know they said they're gonna reevaluate snares though. We have 15 minutes left. One topic we forgot to talk about that is coming new in the next patch is AP gain is going to be readjusted. Before, every person in your group gave you a 10% bonus to your AP gain, so a full group of 24 people had a 240% AP bonus compared to one person. Well, now they're going to change it to where that bonus caps at 50%, so the max amount of AP you'll receive for one person is going to be at 5 players in a group. Of course, everyone's still going to, get the same amount of AP. If one person, let's just look at math right here. If one person kills one person, let's say they get 1,000 AP. If 5 people kill that one person, they're just going to get a 50% bonus on top of that, and that AP is going to be split among them. So that person's going to be worth 1,500. That's right. Am I doing the math right? 1,500. So
bad at math.
Yeah, I'm. It's been a while, but so with this change, what do you guys think? Do you guys? I mean, I personally don't think it's going to reduce group sizes, but I think it is a good change that's going to at least encourage smaller groups, knowing that they can make the same amount of AP or receive the same amount of AP per kill that the larger groups get.
Yeah, I agree with you
not gonna
entirely. I think it's a good change. It should be here, but I do not think it's going to change anything, because I think the people who are playing in small groups right now are playing it because it's challenging, and that's the type of PvP that they want. They want to be in a small group. The people who are playing in the larger groups, that's what they want to do. They want to play in the larger groups. Like, they don't care too much about AP.
It's not going to change the way people play. However, like for instance, this is a prime example. Cypher did a 24-hour stream. He went for Emperor, and he went up against. He didn't even know he was going up against, but Crown was, pushing the AP leaderboards also. And because Crown was in a larger group, Cypher was not able to keep up, and that's an issue.
I was. The thing is,
I mean,
it's possible. I was
kept
first place
up,
for
right,
like.
but you had to work
Yeah,
hard.
yeah. I had
You
to
had to
put in
work
like
harder
double
for
the
it.
hours. Yeah.
Not only that, I was watching you, and it was impressive that you killed so many people. Like, you should have been emperor. Like, just because how many people were killed.
I'll say the reason he didn't get Emperor, I think I posted
It's
this,
'cause
was because
it was-
you said it before, like ahead of time.
Yeah, I
And
streamed it. That was
DC
an
and
issue.
EP just stacked the server until you quit.
But this is just gonna make things. I mean, it's a small change. I mean, it's a big change that's gonna have a small effect, but it's at least a change in the right direction. I think it's a good thing. Like, there's nothing bad that can come from this. It'll give smaller groups who want to go for emperorship at least a better opportunity, or solo players a better opportunity. And it's just the mindset changes when you do this. When you don't give 24 people a 244% bonus over one person, and people are just getting a 50% bonus in a group of 5, and everything on top of that is just extra people. It's that mindset. It's at least ZeniMax is thinking the way we want them to be thinking regarding, balancing small groups and large groups. We just want people on even terms. We don't want small groups to have an advantage. We just want people on even terms. Because there was a stage in the game where small groups did have an advantage because of dynamic ulti. DKs know well about that.
I think it also, like, that AP change is going to go hand in hand with them allowing you to buy Undaunted sets from vendors. And then they're also supposedly upping the AP gear to V16. So technically, I mean, it'll be good. If you want to really farm some AP, you'll probably be better off doing it in a group of 5. That'll probably be the best way to get AP, which is that promotes small scale PvP. Yeah, it's not going to change people's mindset. People are going to Zerg regardless, but at least there's some type of incentive for a small scale player to run in a smaller group.
As far as here's the thing, we might not see the change right now, but I'm thinking back at that Emperor push that I made. Assuming these larger groups had a 244% AP bonus, and we were neck and neck for a majority of the campaign. But now with if I pull off that performance again and they get the same amount of AP again, there's gonna be a huge difference in AP between me and them, and that might encourage people to start running in groups of 5 if they want to farm AP. Or if they want to go for leaderboards and go for emperorship. Group of 5, group of 6, 7 might be the best case scenario for some of these people, just because you do tend to get a lot of AP if you're picking people off from reinforcements in a smaller group. So we might not see the change right now, but it's definitely going to have a change on the mentality of the player base, and it could affect some people, and it's going to push things in the right direction. Last 10 minutes of the podcast, we're doing Q&A. So the guests can answer questions that they see in the chat as well, but you guys are limited to 2 questions each, and then us, we just answer whatever question you want to answer. Richard, Fangash, Lefty. Chat, let us know your questions. Make sure you tag whoever you want to answer your question, or if you want everyone to answer your question, you can tag everyone. Go ahead, and you guys can start picking questions from the chat.
So I guess I'll say something while we're waiting for questions. I don't know if anyone noticed or cares, but I don't ever comment on the AoE caps thing. Like, I never have any comment, and it's because I don't care about it. And it's because I don't want a PvP in Cyrodiil, because PvP in Cyrodiil is made for large groups, so I don't want to do it anyway. I just want even fights. That's what I'm looking for arenas and battlegrounds for, because in those scenarios, AoE caps don't matter, because then I'll be in a 5v5 or a 3v3 or a 1v1, and it doesn't matter. So I don't care. Change it, whatever. I still don't want to PvP in Cyrodiil, so...
Fangash, you want me to play that
FYI.
video you were talking about? I just saw that right now.
I agree with you.
Yeah, so on LinkedIn, it's I mean, it shows
I'm gonna play it.
exactly that.
All right.
I'm
So
getting
this
questions
is,
about polar bears, so
I got
might
it.
as well.
This is
got a question.
one sec, real quick. Let me show this video on stream. This is regarding AoE caps. This is a video from Outcast. He's running a very bursty stamina DK build, I believe. And he's about to Zerg bomb a group of AD. I'm just going to skip to the part where he Zerg bombs. So this is him and his buddy jump into them. They land. Where do you see the kills? It's 154, one sec. So before he jumps in, he's at 150 kills. He jumps into this large group, kills 6 people, and dies. So that literally just shows the effects of the this AoE cap, because only 6 people took full damage, 6 people died. If there were no AoE caps, I guarantee you a lot more people would have died. I'm thinking he could have killed 12 to 18 people with no AoE caps, because considering how tight they were on the flag. And now all these people have to do is just pick up the 6, and they're moving on. But if this guy was able to take out a big chunk of them, his buddies or other people could have finished off the rest, and that will, in a way, that will discourage people from stacking so tight, because things like this could happen.
And that kind of works both ways against AoE caps, though, because that's what some people argue. So
I mean, ZeniMax
hey, if this one guy can jump in and kill 6 people, we need AoE caps for that, because those guys weren't paying attention, and then that's when we come in and we give our side of the story. That kind of works both ways as far as the AoE caps is concerned.
If you weren't paying attention in PvP, you deserve to die. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm not holding your hand, and I wish Zoss didn't hold everyone's hand too. Stop giving everyone easy buttons.
If something's too tough, then they go back and rework the numbers. This is how AoE caps got nerfed in the first place. They didn't know how to go back and revisit dynamic ult gen. They did AoE caps because people were just generating ult. They go, all right, we'll cut everything that deals damage, because it used to be effects weren't hitting everybody, but damage was. So yeah, you could do a steel tornado and hit 20 people, and you would generate ult off that. And they're like, all right, well, we need to do stuff like that, stuff like streak. You could streak through 20 people and have an ult instantly.
Well, why can't you just cap dynamic ult gen?
Exactly.
Yeah, that works too. No AoE cap, but capped ulti gen.
They did, first they did that, then people did crypt builds, and then people got their ults built quick off crypt builds, and then they said, all right, static ult gen. Like, it's idiot solution after idiot solution instead of really trying to fix what the core problem is, and you just never get to go back to it. And that's really what it is. I'm not gonna lie, it's a bad solution. So we got questions now though. Someone asked me about circles. Do they really? Circles they don't scale for stamina because they only scale with magicka and spell damage. The only thing that really scales with physical damage is Dragon Leap, like you just saw in that video. It's literally the only ult in the game that actually scales with stuff like CP. Yeah, with physical. Everything else scales with magicka. Stamina is very strong, but this is something, in my opinion, that's very screwed up. I can't, scale up my, you may have seen it in my build video. I can't scale up my overload the same way a magicka can. That stuff needs to be fixed and balanced out, in my opinion, to have some ults really effective and others, the number system's just broken. I mean, it just needs to be revisited.
I think the major issue as far as the physical magicka ultimate, or physical, even with every ability, is the champion tree, because there's ways for you to mitigate a percentage of magicka damage when there's no way to mitigate a percentage of physical DPS, which is why Dragon Leap is so good when you hit people with it, because there's no mitigation for it unless you block it or you have a ton of armor.
Yep.
But that's the only mitigation for an ability like Dragon Leap. That's why abilities like Wreck and Blow hit so hard and people complain about them, because it's physical DPS. And Champion Tree is highly biased as far as physical and magical damage. But that's a whole nother story. We can go on for 10 days about that.
It's a good question, Sark.
Okay, I'm going to answer Strive's question. What is your ideal ultimate generation system? How do you think it should work and be implemented with 1.8? I think an ideal ultimate regeneration system is a dynamic ulti system, but a very slowed down version of what we had before in 1.5. And the reason you want it to be slowed down is because you don't want ultimates to be spammed, but you want it to be where a group of 4 are getting a similar amount of ultimates off compared to a group of 10 or 15.
Mhm.
And that's just going to make things a little fair, because the 10 and 15 already have more people, so you shouldn't give them more ultimates. With a static system, 10 people equals 10 ultimates, 4 people equals 4 ultimates. With a dynamic system, regardless of how slow or fast it is, the smaller amount of people will always be able to kind of get close or tie up the large amount of people's ultimate gain. And what you can do is just take the old system, take out crits and slow it down by half or even 60-70% of what we used to have. And at that point, you'll still have a system to where you're not spamming ultimates, but it's dynamic, and that means there's speed involved, and there's opportunity for a smaller group to get off as many ultimates as a larger group.
Now, if I could answer the question as well, I think ideally, like an ideal situation to me, would be an increase of AOE caps to a hard 15. All those people take 100% damage, and the old dynamic ulti system minus the bonus for crits. That way, you're hitting a lot of people, generating a lot of ult, and if you're hitting a lot of people, you're generating a lot of ult, and you don't have that instant ult factor from critting all those people as well.
I agree. Even though I just want AoE caps removed 100%. My thing though is if they do anything with dynamic ulti, they have to address DK's battle word passive. It has to be addressed because as it stands right now, that is probably the most OP passive in the game right now. Still, even without the dynamic ulti, it's just
it used to be a
good.
lot better. Yeah.
It used to be a lot. It used to be over the top stupid. I used to go on rants about DKs for hours and hours. It was so OP. But they got if they do anything with ultimates, they gotta address that battle word passive. They have to, and they have to do it in a fair way because I still want the battle word passive to be something effective for DKs to use.
Just tone it down a bit, yeah.
It has to be adjusted. It has to be.
There's a popular question that I see a lot of people asking. They're talking about battle res. What do you guys think about battle res? Do you think what are your opinions on battle res? Everyone
needs to be a cooldown.
Yep, I agree. Or at least when you res up your weak.
Like
why?
That's what it needs. I think
it's
it needs
like
a weak
I like
status.
what like mannequin. I think you said a mannequin, but I liked where the same way they have with camps, like a 2-minute cooldown or something. Like honestly, it's a very simple solution, but it will work even for rezzing too. Whether you res at a camp, whether you get res with a soul gem, give them a cooldown. Even with like battle res or sickness or something, like people are still gonna get rezzed, and at least in the way the game stands currently, they're another body for AoE cap. Sorry, that's the way I see it. Like even if they're working at 30% reduction, if they outnumber you 3-1 and it's 30 versus 10, and you have 10 guys res that are at, they're all 30% less capacity, they're still very relevant in the fight, even though they're very weak. You still can't burst AoE them, not in the current model of the game. So I think like a timer would be good. So if you do get rezzed, bang, you take the res. You have 2 minutes. So make the 2 minutes count. Whatever it is, 2 minutes. 2 minutes sounds fair. That's a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah, it's a good number.
Whether it applies to caps, whether it applies to being res or camps, just that seems like a great solution for that. And it's absurd right now. If people can res too much.
I mean that's why everyone runs Kragonax. I mean, someone's dying.
That's not really why.
No,
I mean,
it's
an all-around good set, but that one passive is just it's the same thing with Phoenix. It's a really good set for Magic builds, and you get these 5-piece bonuses that just like when you're fighting a Zerg and you fight a Templar that has Phoenix, you want to jump out a window. And then when you fight a Zerg and you fight a Templar that has Phoenix and a Templar who has Karganax and you kill one Templar and another Templar res, it's just like ridiculous.
Karganax res in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, it's like 2 seconds.
Less than 2 seconds.
Less than.
It's very less.
It's
very quick.
Almost an instantaneous res with the Templar
like,
passive,
it's
the 24 passives, and the Karganax passives.
But not even Karganax. Like you go up, like not everyone here obviously, but I run like somewhat like just ball group, right? We go up against 60 blues. I mean, we kill half of them. We go to kill the other half. The other half just gets rezzed, and it just happens over and over for like 20, 30 minutes straight.
Zombie horde.
So it's a zombie horde. Like, why should you just be able to res that many times? It's like death has no meaning almost.
Yeah.
Once you have that many players.
Yeah, I see what you guys mean about the about needing like some sort of cooldown or something or a timer. On the other hand, it's like if you flip it, it's like you have like a 4-man going against a 10-man, and that res is really crucial to try to get that group together. And if you nerf reses, you're nerfing it for small man too. So I mean, you're
a lot of small, like if that small man's going to win though, and it's more than likely like if you're 4 versus 10 and you go down to 3 and you do happen to get that guy up, chances are he's not going to die, and you're going to get being able to keep resing him. Like 3v10, I will just res him again. Like I think you're gonna die at that point, honestly.
There needs to be a penalty to death.
This is my first time ever hearing about anyone ever having a problem with reses. I guess I just don't listen to people or don't pay attention, but I don't get it. I'm sorry. I don't understand that.
Well,
it's so damn easy to stop someone from resing. Okay, if they
Just
stack all
bash
these
'em.
different
Like,
passives, then fine, they can
Cypher
res
had that
fast,
video.
but that's a
No.
build for that. So like,
It's
can
more
post
so
you-
the-
I can post like a video, Lefty, of like I
Post
was in a
Cypher's
fight
video.
That's
like
fine,
A,
that's
a
fine, and I-
1v12. I for literally 3 minutes, I was babysitting. Like I had killed 6 of them, and the last 6, 4 of them were healers, just all standing together. 3 of them dropping springs, the other 2 Templars, breath of lifing. All of them just.
We know how Fangrish loves
so
Templars.
this was
pounded
by you.
reses.
You were by yourself. It was 1v12.
Yeah.
Okay, it should have been that hard. I'm sorry, dude. It should have been that hard. You should
But
have
they're
had
all
to babysit.
resin over.
That's fine.
And
They
over
sh-
and
there's 12
over.
people, dude. You're one person. Like that's.
But
I'm sorry.
I'm
That's
just
my
saying,
my
bring-
perspective.
Like,
is
there's no
meaning to death,
punishment.
like,
Yeah,
I
def-
tend to
def-
agree
definitely
with
Even
Lucy.
on their scale with 60 people or something, like again, they'll kill people on one side of the keep, because I've seen that too, and that happens even when I'm in a 3 or 4 man group. Like you kill people over here, you come back and they're right behind you, and they're all up. You go back and forth. Now 2 minutes, that can happen. Like people will get back up in that fight if it takes that long. But people just res in front of you in the middle of battles over and over. Now
It's
when
nearly
people have
instantaneous stuff.
Kagranax, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. The majority of the people I fight in sewers, they don't have that stuff. They don't have Kagranax.
Maybe Kagranax is a problem then, because
It's
maybe
like
not
half a
reses.
second.
Maybe
It's
it's
not-
not reses. Maybe it's
not-
Kagranax.
It's not resing
the
itself.
Kags,
Yeah, it's not
it's
resing
the
itself.
Kags with the 24-man alliance rank with the Templar passive. That's the only way that you can get a res off in less than a second. I mean, and that's a spec. That's a thing that people
But
build
are you
around.
really
That's a
sacrificing
priest.
that
That's
much?
a priest build.
Are you sacrificing that much to get them up in a second?
You don't sacrifice that much.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't.
you're not losing anything.
Kagranax is so
It's
good.
It's actually
the
a
problem.
good build.
It's
It's like
actually
one of the
it's a solid
best-
build, and it's what I run on my Templar. And it's what most Templars run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess my problem is I've never experienced the half-second reses.
I've-
If that's, I mean, if a group of 12 can just get all other 11 people up in
Watch,
in
like-
6 seconds, then okay, that's a little
Also,
ridiculous.
in the-
Go watch a Templar.
in
with
the
Kagranax
sewers,
do it.
You don't get the Cyrodiil
You don't get the
passive res
passives.
bonus.
I know that.
I
You're
still
just dealing
think I
with
still think the problem
all
isn't the
groups
resin.
res.
It's
They're
not
just
the
all
res. It's a set. Yeah, I agree with you, Lefty.
And I'm not totally in favor of just a hard cooldown on it. What I always suggested was just like a scaling up cooldown. You know, you die once, cool. You die twice, no, punish them a little. Don't get up right away, but like 3, 4, 5 times, why isn't just scaling up on that point?
I don't really. I mean, I know sometimes resin can be an issue because I've dealt with the same thing. I know how you feel, Finger. Trust me, I'm with you on it because I've dealt with it too. With the insta reses, with you're trying to take out a group and it's hard. Not even by myself, even in a group, I dealt with the same issue. But I have more of a problem though with Templar healing over anything though, because I can get somebody down and then just not have enough damage to take a Templar down, and I'll have to back off. And then me backing off will allow somebody to res.
Well, it's my
That's
problem.
more
Like,
so my
in
issue.
that fight, and in fights like that, King, like I am trying to finish the healers, I can't. They're all taking turns just trying to res the same people I killed. Sometimes they get them up. It's like these Nightblades with 16k health, and I'll just instantly put them back down. Can't get through the guys. They're just the Templars, just blocking breath of life in, and they just insta res. It's just over and over, man.
On
But
the other
there's
side
no
of it,
penalty
though.
to it.
Yeah,
So-
and I understand Templars are supposed to heal. I understand that. But when I can literally
damn.
wreck and blow you 4 times in a row, and you can get up and go from 0 to 100, and my DPS isn't enough to take you down, I think that's an issue. I honestly, and it's breath of life. That's what it is. Breath of life with CP. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think Templars are supposed to
It's-
be good at healing, but right now it's a little bit over the top. I'm sorry.
It's very strong, but when
Yeah,
you
on the
count
other
when
side
you
there, yeah.
put it against a stand build that can be doing like insane wrecking blows and insane, just damage versus these people wearing light armor with less resistances, with no CP caps that don't like provide any other kind of resistance to physical damage. I mean, the two kind of counter each other.
You
And
know-
that's
you know what
something
it
that
is?
we have to
That's-
test. It's like, can a stand
That's like a-
build burst down somebody? And we have to test this, Fingers. Can you burst down somebody with a Templar healer going ham, just breath of lifing them, if it's a good Templar healer?
This is my thing, and I want to retract on my statement because now that I think about it, I look back on all the situations when I dealt with that. It's not one Templar when I have an issue; it's multiple Templars. If I get one Templar by herself, I'll kill him. I'll kill them. They're not going to be able to survive. They may be able to hold out longer, but I'll kill them. It's when I'm in those situations when I'm outnumbered against multiple Templars when it's an issue.
I mean, it should,
and I think it should be like that.
It should be like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to retract that comment. That actually should be like that. When I deal with one Templar, I smack them.
If you take the Templar's ability to heal, that's one of their entire trees. Okay, so that's like a third of what their class could be potentially dedicated towards. And we all know that Magicka Templars are not pulling the damage that Stam Sorks, that Stam Nightblades are pulling. So you have to, you have to, like, if you're gonna take that from them, then you're gonna have to be able to buff their damage to be on par with what the Stam Blades and Stam Sorks or whatever else is gonna be. Because then you're just building Cyrodiil around an entirely like stamina based, damage based, and heals are secondary.
I agree.
Well, I mean,
I take those comments back. Sorry.
We want to save this topic for when we get the new updates regarding, like, because class balance, abilities, CP, all that stuff is a completely different topic. We are running over our time, so we're gonna wrap up for the show today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you, AOE Barbecue, Jules, Mannequin, and Snoo, our guests. You guys have been wonderful. Definitely looking forward to bringing you guys again in the future. As far as our podcast goes, the next podcast is going to be on the 19th. I don't know if you guys have any Richard, Fangrush, Lefty. You guys are going to be busy the 19th. It's going to be holidays and stuff. I don't know.
I'm good to go.
You guys get to go on the 19th?
I'll probably be around, yeah.
Okay, so our next show is going to be on the 19th. A lot of people are asking for us to play the Fangrush video again. I'll play that before we end the stream.
Oh God,
it's a pretty good video.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for all the supporters, the donators, followers, the viewers. I do feel like we've achieved something with this podcast, and we're seeing direct results and direct words from ZeniMax regarding the things we talk about on this podcast. I'm glad that we've become a lot more constructive. Looking back at some of our episodes, we've grown a lot. We've gotten a lot better at communicating our thoughts with as minimal curse words per minute as possible.
We only hit 4. That's pretty good.
4 in 2 hours.
I had like 4 in one
we
sentence
played
on
the
first one I did.
Fangrush video, and there's like 4 in there, and we're about to play that again. So.
Ooh,
true. Had to bring
Had to bring it
We're
up.
still
now.
under 20 though, so that's good.
I mean, there was a point where I think the first time we brought Jules on, we were hitting it like every minute. So.
Yeah,
Wow. Point
Funny
the
man.
finger at Jules, why don't you?
I'm not saying it's because of Jules or anything, but I'm just saying that it's just she just happened to be there.
To it today. I was shocked. I was like, wait, that wasn't Jules?
I feel very strongly about the well-fitted, sturdy traits in my PvPLs. Very strongly.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm gonna play Fangrush's video one more time for you guys, and I will. So is anyone streaming tonight? Richard, Fangrush, Lefty?
Yeah, I'll be going live.
I think we all are.
I can't tonight.
You
I'm
can't
gonna be on
tonight?
earlier tomorrow.
Okay,
time to
man.
drink.
Me and Lefty going.
Are you guys gonna group up? Because I'm thinking about streaming as well.
Damn, he
Guess
didn't
what?
I'll probably group.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah,
we
I'll go
Streamer
live.
Zerg.
three man streamer Zerg.
Streamers.
I'll be back in about 30 minutes to go live, and Richard and Lefty will be live. Fangrush won't be live tonight, but type in !casters in the chat if you want to follow these guys on Twitch. All the casters have YouTube channels and Twitch channels that you guys can follow and get info from. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Go ahead and play Fangrush's stream, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thanks, guys.
See you guys. Thanks.
See ya.